Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order. The Ridgewood Village Council, this is a public workshop. The date is June 22nd, 2022, and the time is 7:32 p.m. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by posting on the bulletin board in Village Hall, by mail to the Ridgewood News, the Record, and by submission to all persons entitled to same as provided by law of a schedule including the date and time of this meeting. Roll call.
Councilwoman Perrin.
Here.
Councilwoman Reynolds.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Seaton is not here. Councilman Vagianos.
Here.
And Mayor Knudsen.
Here. Please join us for the flag salute. Please join us in a moment of silence for our men and women serving our nation, our first responders, and for all those suffering as a result of senseless violence. Thank you. With that, we'll go to public comment, not to exceed 3 minutes per person. Please come to the microphone. Remember to state your name and address for the record.
Brian Delatorre, 353 Evergreen Place. Apologies in advance. I'm going to speak and then I'm going to leave because I have a board meeting of my own to be on.
Just speak, Brian, just
apologies.
Just speak into that mic.
You got it?
That is a little green dot on the microphone, the little light at the bottom.
Yeah, you got me now?
And now
there you go.
Now we got you.
Brian Delatorre, 353 Evergreen Place. I'm here to talk about Graydon. I had emailed you all, Mayor Knudsen, thank you for getting right on responding. Councilman Vagianos, not Congressman, Councilman Vagianos, thank you also for replying and for getting on it.
Thank you for the promotion.
My letter originally was about this sort of crazy rule that kids under the age of 16 can't go to the pool without a parent. We all have 13-year-old babysitters. And then they're not allowed to go swimming on their own. That's kind of crazy. You can get a light moped license at 15, but you can't go to the pool without your mommy. Like, that seems really silly. But in the responses and in the discussion, it seems we have bigger issues with Graydon this year especially, right? And we have an acute lifeguard shortage. I understand these issues may not be able to be solved for this year, but I do think we need to look forward. And to me, growing up in Glen Rock, one of the things that happened was between the ages of sort of 10 and 14, you were at the pool every day. You rode your bike down, you hung out with your friends, and then those same kids at age 14 could get working papers, and they ran the door, they ran the snack bar, and then at 16 they became lifeguards. And we need to create that again here, because we need to be able to find lifeguards, and one of the ways to do that is to have those teens there. And if they're not there from the ages of when they get out of grading camp until they turn 16, because they'd have to be with their parent, and as a very young person, I mean, I was 14 a couple years ago, so I remember what it was like, and at the age of 14, you don't want to be with your parents, right? And so I get it. And so to me, that's a thing that we really need to work on, and if there can be a committee set up, if we can do some things. We made great strides a few years ago, cleaned up the water, we put in the Adirondack chairs. You guys put in the pavilions, the chairs by the snack bar is great. All of that got really revamped in the last few years, and it was really good work. I love Graydon. I spend $1,000 a year on badges at Graydon, literally. I'm there all the time. It's not that I want to change Graydon. It's that I want to tweak it so that it works and so that it's functional. Because this year it's not going to be functional. We have a third of the pool is open. It's open very few hours. It's closed Labor Day. It's closed Memorial Day. It's just not functioning anymore. And so we need to figure out how we can do that. And to me, guards sounds like the problem, but the solution's really the teens, not the guards. So thank you all for all your work on it. I look forward to watching the discussion later on YouTube about it. And again, apologies to speak and leave, but I do have another board meeting to attend. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Oh, bring the microphone just down a little so we can hear you. Speak into the microphone.
Can you hear me?
Uh-huh.
All right. Hello. I'm Susan Schreiber. I live at 52 Warren Place in town. And I'm here to talk just a few minutes about the lifeguard situation at Graydon. I've been a member for so many years. I started going to Graydon when my hair was dark brown. So I've been around a long time. And I had the opportunity to speak to a neighbor whose 3 children work at Graydon. 2 of them are lifeguards. And here's what she said. She said that they have long shifts. They're about 19 years old, both of them. They're twins. And they have long shifts, and they're very, very tired. And she said, it's kind of discouraging for a teenager to, have their summer off from college and have to look forward to a 10-hour day. I know, they're in the heat. I don't know exactly what their role is besides lifeguard, watching the swimmers. But I feel that we have to look at that. And also, I swim at the Y, and in the winter, when they first opened after the COVID, serious COVID pandemic, they had trouble getting lifeguards also. Now, after, I don't know, maybe a couple months, they had more than they could handle. And I know that's clear water. It's different than waterfront. But I work in a high school, and I know the students, they talk about salaries. That's really, really important to them, too. And I know they would have to be trained, some of them, for this particular lifeguard job. So I'm just trying to suggest that perhaps we look at that, look at the salaries that these students are getting for lifeguard, and be fair and not overwork them. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Deborah Butensky. I reside
Deborah, I'm
at...
sorry, could you just speak into the microphone?
Sure,
so
I'm
we can
sorry.
hear you?
Good evening. My name is Deborah Butensky. I reside at 280 Eldon Court. I've been a resident for about 29 years. All 3 of my children attended Graydon Camp under the direction of Nancy Bigos, where they learned to swim with instructor Daniel Brzezinski and became waterfront guards instructed by Steve Diamond, who also was their mentor for many years. I feel that these experiences molded my now adult children. Lifeguards are among the lowest paid first responders, and we are experiencing a severe shortage of them across the nation. Learning to swim is a basic life safety skill, and summer is an ideal time to learn. If Ridgewood could make modifications to lifeguard schedules, responsibilities, and pay scale, we may be able to keep our current guards and encourage others to join the great staff we have here. Hopefully, Ridgewood residents will continue to enjoy a safe, healthy, and happy summer for Graydon members of all ages. Thank you for your time and consideration in this matter.
Thank you, Deborah.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Fred Holden. I live at 188 West Glen Avenue. I've lived there for 43 years, since 1979. I'm here tonight to speak in support of Graydon Pool and its staff. This facility is a gem. It's an attractive community asset. On numerous occasions, I have heard out-of-town visitors identify Graydon as, quote, that wonderful park and lake near the downtown area, and have stated such with envy. I'm certain other residents have had similar comments made to them by non-resident friends and family who visit here. Of course, we who do live here simply love this place, Ridgewood and Graydon. We are extremely fortunate that we are the beneficiaries of Mr. Graydon's generous bequeathal to our town. Of course, a facility such as this requires maintenance and especially trained personnel to run it as a summer swimming facility. Pre-season care and preparations are necessary, and I'd like to recognize how greatly appreciative I am, especially over the last 3 years, as I've seen large equipment preparing the sand bottom and cleaning it out prior to filling it on opening day. While there is the need for various work positions at the facility, None, of course, is more critical for the safety of patrons than the lifeguard staff and the supervisory personnel. The demands and skills necessary for running such a facility, especially a waterfront, lakefront type as this is, may not be readily apparent to those who have never worked at any swimming pool or those who are unfamiliar with only familiar with concrete bottom pools. Specialized training and certification is required to do this and work here, and all of our guards have had such training. I've had a dozen years of work experiences myself at swimming pools, personally serving as a lifeguard, a head lifeguard, assistant pool manager. There is unrelenting concern for the safety and well-being of patrons at such facilities, all of these facilities. These guards and their supervisors are the first responders to any on-site emergencies. The lifeguards are also expected to do some degree of pool maintenance, but only such work as is directly related to the pool itself. In my personal experience, they've never had to perform other types of maintenance or cleaning of non-pool facilities. They're hired to assure safety and to perform other directly related pool work. Other untrained and uncertified personnel should be assigned the other facility cleaning jobs. At no facility where I have ever worked were lifeguards routinely assigned to clean bathrooms. And these especially trained people should not be cleaning toilets. I am heartened to have heard that an hourly wage rate increase for these critical personnel may be imminent. It is long overdue, but just a couple of bucks may not be enough to do it. It's been difficult enough over the years to obtain lifeguards, and this is even prior to the current nationwide critical shortage of them. There needs to be a more substantial raise for it to be effective. Ridgewood must be competitive with other towns' pay scales, or potential candidates will work elsewhere. A developmental feeder program, such as Mr. Delatour referred to earlier in his remarks.
I'm sorry, Fred. So that was the 3-minute timer. So we appreciate your comment. Do you just want to do a quick wrap up, or okay?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. Ellie Gruber, 229 South Irving. I was happy to see on the agenda for both the public meeting, special public meeting, the awarding of the grant. First of all, I want to thank the village manager. Your perseverance is wonderful. And I thank the council for supporting the rehabilitation of the house. I think when this is finished, there'll be a lot of equality in town, equal community services for the East Side residents, and that's really important. And I think when the house is finished, it's going to be really a gem. I was there the other day. It really looks beautiful. And once it's finished, I mean, it's going to be a real gem, and I thank you all very much.
Thank you, Ellie.
Good evening. Ann Loving, 342 South Irving Street. I, too, am here to speak about Graydon. I understand it's on the agenda and that the hours may need to be cut in some way. One thing I wanted to say about cutting the hours is I hope you will take into consideration, if this has to happen, that there are many people with young children who probably nap right after lunchtime. So if you don't start opening the pool until noon or so, you're probably cutting those children out of the opportunity to, come for the morning and then go home for lunch and a nap. I hope you don't have to cut the hours at all. Graydon, to my knowledge, is the only park in town that actually makes money. Every other park in town costs money. They have to be mowed, they have to have grass seed, they get flowers planted, they get snow cleared, etc. Graydon turns a profit. So there is money there, and I think that the Parks Department needs to stop looking at it as a profit maker and spend that extra money to really pay the lifeguards much better. Not a couple of dollars, as somebody suggested, but much more. It's such a critical job. I mean, there is no more important job than saving somebody's life at the moment. I think that we wouldn't have a shortage if we paid really generously, and I hope that some of the money that comes from the profit that Graydon makes could be applied toward that. I feel like Graydon is just always an afterthought. That's the impression I feel from the Parks Department, And I know the Parks Department is probably over there giving me the stink eye right now, but that's, we've had to fight year after year for things at Graydon. This year, it looks awesome. The bathrooms look beautiful, the water's clear, and now the hours are going to be cut because we don't have lifeguards. Take some of the money from the annual profits and apply it towards paying them more. It's money well spent. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann.
Good evening, Boyd A. Loving, 342 South Irving Street. With respect to the Shedler situation, a number of work sessions ago, the village manager read a document into the minutes, and I believe it was promised that that document would be posted on the website. That document is not yet posted on the website, and a number of us are waiting to review it. So I'm hoping that if the document is ready for posting, that it's just a technical issue that's preventing it from being posted, and that that document is posted soon. Also, with respect to an item that I believe requires follow-up, from time to time as I sit at home and I'm watching the meetings, I see residents come up and make a statement about something that they've been waiting for it to happen, and it hasn't happened, and they don't know why things are taking so long. Unfortunately, I'm here tonight with a similar situation, and I've spoken to the mayor about this. I've written a letter to the manager about this on May 30th, and I have heard a response. I spoke to the engineering department about this, and it seems to be a simple matter to me, and that is that there are no parking signs that are missing in front of the NOMA. They were removed when construction took place at the NOMA, and they have not been put back up. As a result of the signs being missing, people are parking there, and it is creating a traffic hazard at times of the day. So I fail to understand why something as simple as putting parking signs back in place is taking months, literally months to do, and I'm also quite upset that the manager has not gotten back to a written notice I sent her about this and to let me know what's going on. So I'm hoping that that document that is supposed to be posted is posted soon and that these parking signs are put back in place. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Boyd. Anyone else for public comment? Just state your name and address for the record.
Sure. Hi, I'm Deborah Ligori at 319 Meadowbrook Avenue. I came in support of my daughter.
Deborah, just bring the microphone down a little.
Okay, I'm short, sorry.
Thanks. No worries.
My daughter's here. She's a Graydon lifeguard. I have a son who's also a Graydon lifeguard, and I have a 10-year-old son. Been living here a long time. When my two older kids were younger, a lot of their friends did not go to Graydon Pool. They went to Promise Pool, they went to Franklin Lakes, and it was hard to drive them there. Now my 10-year-old's grade, they're all there, all day, every day, all summer long, and there are no guards. And I happen to know from personal experience, because my two kids are guards, that a lot of guards left because they can get paid more money at other pools, they can get paid more money at other jobs. You can really get $15 an hour babysitting in this town. You could probably get more. And the shifts are long because there are less lifeguards. And I'm really worried that all these fourth grade parents that I know that go there all the time are going to be driven away next year. And I also know that my kids, it's nerve-wracking. My son was there one day. There were only 2 guards there that day. There weren't any others, and he's in EMT training. He's worried that he's going to be left with someone possibly hurt, and he won't have enough backup. And it seems to me if you normally have, I don't know, the number is 10 or 15 guards a day, and now you only have 2 or 3 or 4, you certainly would have the money to pay them more. And I'd love to see the town attract better and more guards to Graydon Pool. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, we're going to close public comment. We are going to have a discussion about Graydon later on, and we have Nancy Bigos here this evening. So everyone really brought up some very valid, very good points, and we certainly want to get this taken care of. The signs in front of NOMA, I do know that we've been looking into that, and I'm not sure what do you know the status?
Well, all I know is that we do have to go through the county. It's a county road, and there's some holdup with the county. So I will find out what that is, and we'll try to move it forward.
Yeah, and I think going through the county, but it's our ordinance that states, I believe our ordinance states there's no parking there, so I'm not sure Yeah.
Again,
but do
I
think
was
it
told
says
it was
that.
something with the county, so
okay.
I have to find out more.
We'll find out. Okay. All right, very good. With that, we're going to go to the manager's report.
Okay. Ridgewood water customer reminders. The regulations are 2 day per week. Irrigation is permanent year-round. Odd number of addresses on Tuesdays and Saturdays. Even number of addresses on Wednesday and Sunday. No irrigation is allowed on Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays. Smart controller use permitted only between 3 a.m. and 7 a.m., and you must obtain a permit from Ridgewood Water to do so. If you have questions, please call 201-670-5520. Postcards with water conservation regulations were mailed to each house in Ridgewood. The following seasonal membership programs are available through the Ridgewood Recreation Department. Graydon Pool, as we know, is now open. We do have an American Red Cross certification waterfront lifeguard training for a sand bottom facility starting on June 26 at Graydon Pool. Upon successful completion of the training, a lifeguard job at Graydon Pool will be offered. Please call Ridgewood Recreation at 201-670-5560, extension 3111 for more information. Skate park membership through Community Pass or at the stable. It's free and allows use of the park. Tennis and pickleball memberships are available at the stable or on Community Pass. There are 4 locations with a total of 12 tennis courts and 1 location for pickleball with pickleball courts. A variety of Ridgewood mini camps will take place in August and are available for sign up at Community Pass. Music in Memorial Park at Van Ness Square will be presented on Saturday and Sunday nights during the summer months. I do believe that the weekend of July 4th there may not be music. But if you check on our website, we're going to post the bands that we know are playing during the coming weeks. The Ridgewood Guild is sponsoring free movies in the park Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. in Memorial Park at Van Ness Square. June 29th is Justice League. July 13th is Sing. July 27th is Hairspray, 8:30 p.m. And then the other, August 10th is Clueless, and August 24th is All About Eve. So again, 8:30 p.m. in Memorial Park at Van Ness Square. The Ridgewood Guild sponsors Music in the Night for the 13th season and will provide music in various locations on Friday nights from Memorial Day to Labor Day. The Guild also sponsors Art in the Park, taking place the first Friday of July in August. Pinot's Palette provides the art that is for viewing and for sale. The Cattrall Memorial Shell has begun its programs. It is every Tuesday and Thursday in the months of June, July, up to August 4th. The programs begin at 8:30 p.m. unless noted otherwise. The senior bus will be providing free transportation to several of the Tuesday music performances. Please call 201-670-5500, extension 2203 for a reservation. To find out if a performance will be relocated indoors due to weather concerns, please call 201-444-1776 after 6:30 p.m. on the day of the performance for an update. If it is canceled or moved to another location, it will be on the message. Additionally, on Tuesday, June 28th, a health resources fair will take place in the parking lot next to the Cattrall Shell from 7:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. Healthy information about at-home COVID-19 tests, giveaways, and important information from Valley Hospital, Bergen Newbridge Medical Center, Ridgewood Parks and Recreation, Ridgewood Health Department, Age Friendly, and West Bergen Mental Health Care will be available. Household hazardous waste collection at the BCUA actually is being held at Bergen County Campground Mountain Reservation, 200 Campground Road in Mawa, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., rain or shine, on Saturday, July 12th. There will be no commercial vehicles and no business or commercial waste accepted. You do need an ID to show that you are a Bergen County resident. All village offices and departments will be closed on July 4th in observance of Independence Day. There will be no garbage or recycling collected on that day, and the recycling center will also be closed. The garbage and recycling pickups may change that week, so please check your village calendars to know when it may be a different day. License your dog in the month of June. There is a $20 late fee beginning July 1st. The farmers market will begin on Sunday, June 26th. It's open from 8:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Ridgewood train station parking lot, and it usually continues through early November. School crossing guards are needed to join the Ridgewood team. If you're interested in working a flexible schedule of 2 hours a day on school days, please contact the area supervisor at 201-969-7182. Village Council upcoming meetings, they're all broadcast live from the Village Hall courtroom on Village website and Channel 34 on FiOS. July 6th and August 3rd are the 2 work sessions, and July 13th and August 10th are the 2 public meetings. Work sessions begin at 7:30 p.m., and the public meetings begin at 8 p.m. That's all I have.
Councilman Vagianos?
Yes, I met with the Stigma-Free Committee this week, and they have a lot of interesting things going on. As many of you know, COVID vaccines have recently been approved for those 6 months to 5 years of age, and the health department can tell you where to go to get one for your child if you're interested. They can also help you find information regarding the vaccine for those under 5. And if you're also interested, there are some toll-free numbers. If you're interested in vaccine and testing, call 855-568-0545. That's 855-568-0545. If you have questions about the vaccine, you can call 800-962-1253. That's 800-962-1253. We also, as you all know, have the 4th of July parade coming up, and the health department is looking for volunteers to hand out water during the parade, as it is usually the hottest day of the year, if you remember. So if you're interested, please contact the 4th of July committee at Ridgewood 4th of July, that's the number 4th, Ridgewood 4th of July at gmail.com. Also, coming up in next month, we are going to have our annual, in August, our annual Citizens for Swimming program, and it's going to take place for 3 weeks in August, and that's where kids from inner cities will be brought in so that they can learn to swim and enjoy the luxury of our wonderful Graydon pool. They also sponsor an adult summer reading program where prizes from local businesses are given out to encourage adults to read. Finally, and something I'm interested in myself, there is a Medicare education program this Tuesday, June 28th at 6:30, being held by Sheila Brogan. It's going to be done on Zoom, and it's designed to help everyone better understand the labyrinthian Medicare procedures. I just signed up last month, so I'm trying to figure it out still. And if you're interested, please go to the library website and go to events, and you can sign up for this. It's Tuesday night at 6:30, and it's by Zoom. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Perrin?
Yes. First, I wanted to thank the Ridgewood Fire Department for their response to the fire at Ridgecrest Home, which has many senior residents. They and EMS handled the situation really well. We are lucky that the fire did not spread beyond one unit. I also wanted to let you know that the Central Business District Advisory Committee is going to have a speaker on July 14th. It will be John Saraceno. He's a local developer, and he'll be talking about his experience with various towns and development in general. We also had a speaker at our last session who is the executive director of the Montclair Business Improvement District. And we had a follow-up meeting to talk about what a business improvement district could do for Ridgewood. How would it look? And so we will be discussing that again in the future. The Open Space Committee meeting this last month was canceled. However, a couple of us went on a field trip to Wayne, New Jersey to see how the flood acquisition plan is working there. That's where the municipality bought homes that had been severely flooded and raised them and made parks. And so it was really enlightening to see how that's progressing. Also, I don't think we've met since the Pride event in Van Nest Square. That was June 11th. It was really a very thoughtful presentation, and I want to thank all the speakers and performers and everybody who organized it. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Reynolds.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I want to say we just all came from the Ridgewood High School graduation, and there is nothing like Ridgewood High School graduation. Whether you have a child graduating or not, it is just a wonderful sight, rain or shine, no matter what. It's just wonderful. The speeches are great. To look out and see a sea of white tuxedo coats and white dresses on all the girls and holding roses. It's just fantastic. Okay, so I just want to ditto on what Pam Parent said as well with the fire department and Ridgecrest. We were so lucky. The response was fantastic, and it's unfortunate somebody passed away, but it could have been so much worse. Pride celebration was on June 10th. It was absolutely spectacular. Each and every speaker was amazing, heartwarming. I had, tears flowing with many of the speakers. The musicians were great, and I want to thank the village staff. They were very helpful with anything and everything we needed to set up, break down. They were great. Thanks to Stigma Free for coming, the Saga students, and the Ridgewood Police Department and the Signal Division. It was truly a community effort, and it was a wonderful celebration. The CSAC committee, which is the Citizen Safety Advisory Committee, they met on Thursday, June 16th. The Street Smart banners are currently at the printer. They will hopefully be available in July, and the Signal Division will install them after locations are finalized. CSAC has decided we won't be meeting in July or August unless something of an urgent matter arises with safety. Our next meeting will be in September. The planning board meeting from last night was canceled. And I want to talk about Project Pride. The Project Pride Committee, we have brought back the Project Pride Awards, which are like a 4 to 5 foot tall wooden stake. It's a sunflower. It says Project Pride Award. And every 2 weeks, we will pick 6 houses throughout Ridgewood, and we will place them in people's gardens, in their front yards, who have really gone above and beyond and done a spectacular job on their front landscaping. The 6 people who got it this week were surprised, elated. It was a pleasure to put them there, ring the bell. If they were home, everybody was so happy and so thankful. So if you see a house that you think could deserve this award, please email me the address and we will consider it. And when you get the award, it'll be in your garden for 2 weeks. And then you'll wake up after 2 weeks and it'll be gone. And it'll go on to 6 new houses. That's it. Thank you.
So just wondering about that, do you take photos of each of the houses, and then can we announce the winners? Are we allowed to?
Well, I wrote up a little letter for everybody, and I asked everybody to email me their email address, and I was going to speak with everybody. I hope that at the end of the season, we can invite everyone back and give them a little certificate and honor them at a council meeting.
Great, perfect, thank you. So I too will reiterate the gratitude to our Ridgewood first responders, the Ridgewood Fire Department, our EMS, our Ridgewood Police Department for the Ridgecrest fire. They were able to knock down that fire very quickly, and we are a grateful community for their efforts, so thank you to them. And Ridgewood 4th of July. 4th of July will be upon us in very short order. Everyone is welcome to participate. Please join us and watch the parade. And July 4th fireworks are back in full swing. Everyone who's interested, anyone interested, can visit ridgewoodjuly4th.net, or you could just Google Ridgewood 4th of July, and it'll bring you right to their website. There is a raffle going to happen. This is a fundraising effort to continue to support the tradition of the fireworks and the parade in the Village of Ridgewood. It is not sponsored by the village, so it is fully funded by private donations. So please visit the website, take a look, and take a look at how you can help to continue this tradition. Let me see, Pride Day. I just want to say first, yes, thank you to everyone who helped organize, our Ridgewood Police Department, Traffic and Signal, and all village staff that helped make it a huge success. And to all of those members of our community that spoke. This was truly a representation of our community. It was folks from all over Ridgewood that are also members of the LGBTQ community. The speakers were passionate. They were, some of the comments about their life stories were sad. They were beautiful. Some could make you angry because of what people had to go through before being accepted and being able to come out and live their lives and just be like everyone else. And so I think one of our speakers summed it up when she said, in all of her years, she could never have imagined in her wildest dreams that she would have been invited by her community to come and speak to her fellow residents about her experience. And there was truly a sense of gratitude for that. I have to say, while some of it was like really brought tears to many, some of it was actually, some was funny. I mean, you know, so it really ran the gamut. It was beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And I do have to thank also Councilwoman Reynolds and Councilwoman Perrin for helping and being there, and Councilwoman Perrin especially because our program ran a little late. I had back-to-back obligations to run up to Upper Ridgewood for the Eagle Scout certificates, to present those, and Councilwoman Perrin was sitting there, and I just didn't have the heart to leave, and she was so gracious to step in and run up and do that, and I know she got a lot out of it, but I did want to say thank you so much to her for doing that. I do really appreciate it. Ridgewood High School graduation, Go Class of 2022, they were absolutely gorgeous, beautiful, and they toughed it out through the misty, cold, brutal rain. It was just really cold out there. But it was really a beautiful event. So thank you everyone, and thank you again to my council colleagues for stepping in. Okay, and I think with that, hopefully that was everything for me, and we're moving along.
Susan, may I recommend that we have a bunch of people in the audience tonight that are here for the Graydon pool discussion. Would it be possible to move this up so that we could do that first?
Yeah, I think first we're going to do, I was actually going to do that, but I think we first want to get through our special public meeting, so we need to do that first. So let's just...
Okay, so under budget is...
Wait, just hang on 1 second, Heather, because I just... hang on. Okay. All right, we will redo that, but let's get through our special public meeting because we need to do that first.
Okay. So under budget is award of contract for the restoration and rehabilitation of the Zabriskie Shedler House. Bids were received on June 9th for the rebid of this project. There were 4 pre-qualified plan holders eligible to bid. We received 2 bids. They range from a low of $759,275 to a high of $1,104,000. The spread was $344,725. That's larger than it was the first time we bid it. The low bid was received from Deltec Inc. of Trenton, New Jersey. The quote was $759,275. Their previous bid was actually $776,975. So therefore, we actually got a better price than we had the first time around. The low bidder submitted a complete bid package with all necessary information, and he actually it's the same bidder who did the original Phase 1 project in the interior of the house. So it'll be the same contractor, so I'm sure it will be seamless. So the recommendation is to award to Deltec Inc. of Trenton, New Jersey.
Okay. Any questions?
The next item is under policy, suspend processing of applications for recreational structures. This resolution will be to temporarily suspend processing and permitting of applications for batting cages and other sport-oriented activities, as recent approvals have compromised the outdoor quiet enjoyment of their neighbors' backyards. This will be sent to the planning board so that they may consider changes to the village code for these types of structures. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to add.
Yeah, we haven't discussed this before, and I know that there was an issue regarding someone putting a batting cage up, which was a big, giant structure. The resolution that's proposed here also talks about basketball hoops, which have been going up for years. I don't know that there's been any issue or problem associated with that, so I'm just wondering why that was included here. And I understand that they make noise, they're loud, but I don't know that we've had any complaints about it. So I'm wondering why that's included.
What I can say is that with regard to the complaints that were received, particularly directed at the batting cages, we took a look at our ordinances that deal with the development of rear yards and what type of sporting activities can be developed there from the standpoint of fixtures and macadam and the like. And we're finding that our ordinance across the board is a little bit outdated for what people are looking to do these days and what we're beginning to get applications for. So hopefully it's not going to be down too long, but and hopefully we're going to come up with some, I'm going to work with Tony Merlino with regard to trying to amend the ordinances that deal with the use of the rear yards for these types of activities. Things like children play areas and things like that were not included in what we're trying to do. We're really just dealing with the batting cages, which have gotten significantly larger than maybe what they were contemplated even in the beginning, and I'm not too sure our ordinances ever contemplated, the way they're written now, ever contemplated that. And we never contemplated extensive basketball courts, full-length basketball courts and similar type structures and development in rear yards. So we're going to just try and shore it up as quick as we can, and that's really the reason why we're doing it.
So, and I just think that, to be clear, because we had actually a couple of issues, not everyone may have been aware of those, but we're not dealing with just somebody putting a basketball hoop in their driveway. That's
right.
Not what this
Different
is
issue.
Contemplating. This is a much different issue, and it's specific to recreational facilities, and it's the, wait, Councilwoman Reynolds has to get her phone. So the much bigger issue of rear yard recreational facilities and the impact it's having on other individuals for the inability to really enjoy their own property. So it's not those parts.
So if somebody wants to put a basketball hoop up in their driveway, this does not apply.
This has got nothing to do with it.
Nothing to do with it.
Good.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Anyone else? Okay. The last one is the energy tax restoration. This is being urged by the league that we do let our legislators know that we are in favor of restoring the energy tax receipts to municipalities. It provides for a 2-year phased-in restitution of the $331 million, which has been annually diverted from dedicated municipal funding programs, the Energy Tax Receipts Property Tax Relief Fund, and the Consolidated Municipal Property Tax Relief Aid. During state fiscal years 2009, 2010, and 2011, this funding was diverted from towns to address state budget accounts. Ever since that time, those dedicated revenues have not been distributed to municipalities. Taxes on gas and electric utilities were originally collected by the host municipalities, and when the state made itself the collection agent for these taxes, it promised to return the proceeds to municipalities for property tax relief. They have not done so. It would be as if we collect the taxes for the Board of Education in the county, and we held all that money for ourselves here at the village. So state officials from both sides of the aisle have diverted funding from energy taxes to plug holes in the state budget and to fund state programs. the league is urging us to get in touch with our legislators because they want to get it ready before the fiscal year 2023 budget is in process in July.
Anyone have any questions on that?
Do we have any idea what the state spent that tax revenue on?
I don't know. It's wherever there's a hole that needs to be plugged, they probably take that money and say, let's use the money there.
I'm miffed, to say the least. But, I'm also concerned about what programs are going to be cut as a result of them not using this revenue. But it should come back to us.
Is your microphone on?
Yeah, it is.
I can hardly hear you.
Oh,
Okay.
sorry.
All right, so you're good?
Yeah.
We're okay?
Yep.
All right, so with that, we'll take a motion to suspend the work session and convene a special public meeting. Need a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Perrin,
Yes.
Councilwoman Reynolds,
Here.
Is your
Yes.
microphone
Yes.
on?
I'm sorry.
pardon?
Is your microphone
Oh,
on?
I'm sorry. Deputy Mayor Seaton is not here, Councilman Vagianos?
Yes.
And Mayor Knudsen.
Yes. With that, we're going to call this meeting to order, the Village Council Special Public Meeting, June 22nd, 2022. The time is 8:18 p.m. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by a posting on the bulletin board in Village Hall, by mail to the Ridgewood News, the Record, and by submission to all persons entitled to same as provided by law of a schedule including the date and time of this meeting. Roll call.
Councilwoman Perrin,
Here.
Councilwoman Reynolds.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Seaton is not here, Councilman Vagianos.
Here.
And Mayor Knudsen.
Here. I move the clerk, we're just doing a little meeting in the middle of our regular meeting. We'll be back in a second, so just patience, everyone.
And before we begin, Mayor, I'm going to recuse myself from this initial matter. The
Okay.
sewer discharge fees.
Got it, okay, very good. So just the three of us on deck. Okay, very good. I move the clerk read ordinance 3910 by title on second reading and the public hearing thereon be open.
Second.
An ordinance to amend Chapter
No, we
140.
gotta- roll
Oh, I'm
call.
sorry. Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Vagianos.
Recused.
Is recused. And Knudsen.
Yes, will the clerk please read the title of ordinance 3910?
An ordinance to amend Chapter 145 of the Code of the Village of Ridgewood fees at Section 145-6, enumeration of fees relating to code chapters.
Very good. The public hearing is now open. The public hearing is open. I move the public hearing be closed.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Knudsen,
Yes.
I move that ordinance 3910 be adopted on second reading and final publication as required by law.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Knudsen.
Yes. I move the clerk read ordinance 3911 by title on second reading and the public hearing thereon be open.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Vagianos,
Yes.
and Knudsen.
Yes, will the clerk please read the title of ordinance 3911?
An ordinance to amend Chapter 145-4 of the Code of the Village of Ridgewood entitled Departmental Fees to amend the fees charged by the Police Department.
Okay, the public hearing is now open.
Boyd A. Loving, 342 South Irving Street. Is this being done as a result of gas prices approaching $5 a gallon or something else?
Not really.
It's both. It's both the gas prices, but we haven't increased the prices since 2016. And so it's $5 per hour for the car. It's minimal.
That's the fee to the PSE&G or to whoever
Correct.
whoever we're providing the service to on the detail. That's the fee that they're paying. We're actually increasing the fee to the vehicle, the cost of each of the vehicles by $5.
So my concern is that if gas goes to $10 a gallon, which is not far-fetched, the council has to meet again in order to change the price. Why can't there be some provision put in the ordinance that if the gas prices go up or down, that the council doesn't have to meet to do this, that the price can just be passed on without an approval by the council? Because that takes time for the council to approve this. if gas prices jump overnight, why can't the rate just be adjusted?
But I believe that the cars are typically stagnant. They're not moving.
The cars are on. The cars are stagnant,
Right,
but they're on. You know that they don't.
They are on, actually, you're
You
right.
know,
Sorry.
Susan, you should know better than I do
Corrected.
that the cars are never turned
corrected,
off.
Boyd, you're
The
right.
computers have to be running. They are using gas all the time. So if gas goes to $10 a gallon, my concern is that the council has to meet to approve that. Why isn't there a provision in the ordinance that if gas prices increase, that cost can be passed on without the council voting on a new ordinance?
All right.
At this time, the council decided on $5 per hour. I understand your concern. I'm not disagreeing with you, but I think at this point, we need to get this in place.
Okay,
and then we
but
can
by
maybe
law,
amend it in the
Mr. Rogers
future.
would be entitled to write an ordinance that allows that?
Sometimes you can write ordinances to be effective that way. I seriously doubt, although I have no control and no real foretelling about whether or not gas prices are going to increase to the extent that we'd have to revisit this. But at the same time, this is, I didn't write the ordinance. I don't know where it came, I don't know
Okay.
what was the basis for it, but certainly it takes care of the immediate problem. And, if it comes time to doing something like that, then we'll revisit it, and that's the only thing we can
All right.
say at this point.
Good. I hope that the next time this happens, gas goes up, that you think about revising the ordinance and having Mr. Rogers write the next one. And just as a reminder, at this time last year, gas was $1.80. So to those people who think it can't happen, it can happen.
Yeah,
Thank you very
We're all
much.
feeling the pinch. Thank you, Boyd. Thank you.
Yeah, we know.
Okay. So that's something to keep in mind for the future. All right, anyone else for the public hearing?
Absolutely.
I move the public hearing be closed.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Seaton, he's not here, Vagianos.
Yes.
And Knutson.
Yes.
I move that ordinance 3911 be adopted on second reading and final publication as required by law.
I second the motion.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Vagianos,
Yes.
and Knutson.
Yes. Good resolutions.
The following resolutions, numbered 22-237 through 22-241, are to be adopted by consent agenda with one vote by the council. They will be read by title only. 22-237, Award Professional Services, Village Planner. 22-238, Title 59, Approval, Restoration and Rehabilitation of Zabriskie Shedler House. 22-239, Award Contract Restoration of Zabriskie Shedler House. 22-240, temporarily suspend processing of applications for batting cages and other sport-related activities in residential zones. 22-241, urge state legislature to support A 3804 and S 330, restore the energy tax receipts to municipalities. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Vagianos,
Yes.
and Knudsen.
Yes. And with that, we'll take a motion to adjourn a special public meeting and reconvene the work session.
So moved.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Vagianos,
Yes.
and Knudsen.
Yes. Okay, so now we have our Ridgewood, we don't have anything on water. We have our police department here for loading zones, and we have staff here for Graydon. So why do we want to do Graydon now? Is that okay? Yeah, why don't we move Graydon up?
So at this time, I'll have Nancy Bigos come up, and we'll discuss the proposal for Graydon due to the fact of the reduced number of lifeguards we have, although recently we have, I think, received 3 who came in to, yeah, sure, if you'd like him as well. Oh, we've had 6, so that's good news. Thank you. The last I had heard it was 3, so I'm glad it's increased from there. So let me just get to it. I'm sorry. Okay, so you do have a proposal from Nancy, and Steve Diamond's also going to come up, I guess. And he's our pool manager, has been for many years. I think he started as a lifeguard way back when, if I'm correct. Okay.
Good
So-
evening.
Go ahead.
It's all yours.
I believe it's important when we start off this discussion this evening for you to understand that administratively, the success of a safe operation for all pools within the state of New Jersey are governed by the New Jersey State Department of Health. This is a 41-page document that's entitled the New Jersey State Sanitary Code, Chapter 9, Public Recreational Bathing. It's important that you understand this document is what governs Graydon Pool. On a municipal level, the Graydon Pool facility is inspected and licensed by professionals within the Ridgewood Health Department. Graydon Pool currently possesses a satisfactory license. As the recreation supervisor has outlined for you in her memo to Heather, the Village Parks and Recreation Department has continued to work steadfast in a variety of different ways for us to obtain lifeguards. We hosted our first ever job fair with the Ridgewood High School, and we had 85 young adults visit us that day. We have met with the executive staff from the YMCA and talked about a collaborative where their training module and our training module could work together. We have taken out a full-page ad in the Bergen Record and the Ridgewood News. We have done a myriad of Facebook posts, have met with many different groups, some groups from the high school. We've talked to the newcomers. We've worked extensively. I know that you know that this is a national shortage. This is not something that is happening just here in Ridgewood. As of last week, New York City closed all of its recreational swim programs. So that's their instructional swim, their lap programs, their adult swim, all because of the shortage of lifeguards. The safety and well-being of our residents and our pool patrons has always been and will always be the top priority for our Parks and Recreational Department staff. To ensure this safety, we have met, both Katie and I have met with all of the members from our pool management team on several occasions to discuss solutions, to reprioritize programming over the general public, to talk about the kiddie area, to talk about the deep water, to talk about those that just want to come to the facility and sunbathe, understanding that our facility is a park. Our programs are very popular. This year we have 496 children enrolled in our summer day camp program. So you have to understand that this is not something that we've taken lightly. We have spent many, many, many hours in discussions, talking to other municipalities, problem solving, talking to those within the New Jersey Recreation and Parks Association, of which Katie and I are both active members in their aquatic section, working to figure out a win-win for our community. I have to say, Heather, the proposal that what Katie sent to you is an old proposal. Just this week, the five of us sat down again and figured out a way, so maybe a little bit more, you should know.
Just bring the microphone a little closer. Thank you.
Okay. In a different time, we had 36 full-time lifeguards and 12 part-time lifeguards. That allowed us to have 2 shifts of supervision. A 10-on-10 is what my staff refer that to. 10 lifeguards would come early in the morning and set up the facility and work until 4 o'clock that day. The second shift would come in at 1 o'clock and give the first shift the opportunity to have a lunch, to have some downtime. During the afternoon, the busiest time of our day, we would have 2 shifts that overlap to ensure that extra coverage, to give our guards a chance to have some time down, to have a lunch, to get the new guards up in the stand, get them acclimated to the flow and what's going on for the day. We currently have 15 full-time guards. Oh, maybe more. We might be up to 20, but it's not 36. So one of the ways that we thought is best to go down to a single shift, to take those 8 guards and put them on for an 8-hour day. So if we propose to you that we cut back on the hours of the day, we could then offer our staff a full 8-hour day. Little break, I know, it's tough for them, right? No full hour, hour and a half where you can go home, take a bike ride, lay on the sofa, come back. These staff will be working an 8-hour day. But that at least would allow us to keep the facility open. Our staff have reconvened the layout of the facility, and I hope that you have that in your packets in front of you. And I think that at this time, maybe it's best that Steve explain to you the third option that we are entertaining.
First, I have a question, and I may have misheard you. So you said currently you believe there are 15 full-time lifeguards. Did I understand that correctly?
Go ahead.
Is it on now?
Yes.
Yep. Hi, I'm Steve Diamond.
Steve.
Been a lifeguard there since I was 15. I'm turning 45 this year.
Just do me a favor, talk into the microphone and just speak slowly and clearly so we can hear everything. Go ahead.
So I'm Steve Diamond. I've been the pool manager there since 2006, but I've been a lifeguard there since I was 15. I'll be 45 this year. You can do the math, how long I've been there. But currently right now, to go back when I first started working here, there were 28 lifeguards working a 5-day-a-week shift and 15 part-time lifeguards working 3 to 4 days a week. Now we have 20, we have like right now since the recent additions, we have 20 total lifeguards. 6 work 5 days a week. Only 6. Everyone else is 4, 3, or 2 days a week. And that's how we're making a schedule.
So it's not 20 full-time lifeguards.
No,
It's 6
not even
full-time, and then the others are part-time. Okay.
They're just guards at this point. Part-time and full-time are really labels that are sort of non-existent at this point. They're just staff, and we fill in what we can.
If they're working part-time, it's because that's all they want to work.
That's all they want to work, or that's all they can work.
Okay.
Based on either having other jobs or sports commitments or internships. That's another one. So in looking at what we have, and to look at the pool from my perspective, it's, safety first, safety of the patrons ultimately, and then safety of my staff. I think what's often overlooked is most of these kids are here because of me. They've known me. I guarded them. Most of them, their fondest memories of me yelling at them when they were kids. My parents still live in town. They're friends with everybody. So my protection of my staff is paramount, because if you don't have a great staff, the safety is going to suffer. Liability, as Mr. Rogers can talk about, and ultimately in keeping with the best practices. And yes, I understand what people want, but I can only give you as much as I can that conforms to those three components. So with that, before I propose anything, I only made 3 copies, I'm sorry, and I don't know the rules of decorum. May I approach? I don't know. Sure. Copies, escort me
Just
or
bring it
anything
up,
like
bring it
that?
on up. No, it's all right, we're good.
Yeah, we could share.
Share, yes.
We could share.
Stephen,
Sharing
here's
is
my
caring,
copy.
Lorraine. How many times I got to say that?
Give mine to Heather.
So what this proposal offers, and I will walk through it, of course, is the maximum amount of staff we have for the maximum number of hours a day. It affords us the maximum number of people there for rescues. I know, as some of the public comments pointed out, we've been guarding with 3 kids, and we've been guarding school groups. Now, I don't know, nobody knows what a rescue with 3 kids looks like. It's not acceptable.
So I don't know if it's me or anyone else, but I think maybe just the microphone.
Move back?
It's kind of a little muffled,
Okay.
and I'm really
How's that?
struggling.
I really don't need one, but
He's got a gym
I'm a
voice.
hockey coach, so I really don't need
no,
one.
I
but-
got it. Okay, go ahead.
So basically, what I've kind of restructured, and I do apologize, Ms. Manlander, for the early proposal, but I understand what everybody wants out of the pool, so this is my attempt to give the public the most amount of water with the most amount of hours. So if I'll just start first. So our staff will report at 8:50, 7 days a week. Okay? We take an hour to set up the pool, do our pre-inspectional checks, make sure everything is up and running. The pool will open 7 days a week. Now, this is for now until August 6th, because I still have to do my August schedule with my staff. The pool will open at 10 a.m., 7 days a week. I'm a teacher, so any questions so far? Sorry, I teach high school, sorry. With that, we are able to honor our commitments to our day campers and provide adequate supervision in the morning for the 3 sets of swim hours now. Honor all of our commitments to regarding our swim lessons, which is mandated that there be a lifeguard with our swim lessons, and keep the deep water, the majority of the deep water, the docks, the kiddie pool, and the shallow section open until 6 o'clock. That's 7 days a week. Now, let me go down to during the weekdays at 6 o'clock, for all intents and purposes, the shallow water, the kiddie pool, all of the deep water docks would essentially shut down. And that would be the end of most of the swimming for the day. Most of our staff, on most days, we have about 10 or 11 staff by my schedule so far. About 9 of those kids would then break down the pool, clean up the majority of the pool and the grounds, and go home. From 6 to 7 at night, Monday to Friday, there would be extended lap swim times where I would pull my veteran staff for an extra hour to accommodate our older senior population who likes to swim laps. And we would honor those commitments from 6 to 7. And at 7 o'clock, the pool would close. So not 7:30, but 7. And that really fulfills all of our Monday to Friday commitments with the maximum amount of staff possible. So I can send, Sunday was the last day I worked here. That was the only day we would have been in compliance, able to send a deep water rescue out. That's how few staff we have. This allows me to send a deep water rescue team out to dive for a victim. This is the only schedule that allows that. And accommodates, I know someone had mentioned parents who want to come in the morning with their kids. This accommodates that as well. And people who want to swim laps at night.
So
Oops, sorry.
this appears to have not changed the hours. Am I wrong? Am I missing?
Well, technically, we close at 7:30. It's a half an hour sooner.
Right, I got that. But I mean, in terms of the morning, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and it doesn't change the opening. It does change what's swimmable after 6, but based on 16 years of being manager, after 6 o'clock, most people, the kids are going home, and the older population and the senior population want to swim their laps. We're honoring those commitments.
Steve, what are the regular hours of the pool?
10 to 7, traditionally 10 to 7:30.
10 to 7.
7:30. So it's a half an hour difference.
Okay.
The weekends, I admit, we don't have any program commitments on the weekends, but the pool would be open 10 to 6. I cannot promise you that will be open as many sections. Sundays are our better days, Saturdays are our worst days, and we're backfilling with new staff on Saturdays. And I just want to kind of add an addendum. This is fluid. If we get an influx of staff, we get more staff, we're going to start on the weekends and be able to extend those weekend hours more. So this is a fluid schedule. I know it has somewhat of a rigid structure on paper, but we're allowing for that flexibility as we get more staff and as our weekend days improve with staffing. But ostensibly, the pool would be open from 10 to 6 on Saturday and Sunday. So truthfully, you would lose an hour and a half on the weekends.
So let me ask you a question, because when Nancy first came out, and thank you very much, I really appreciate it. I'm sure you're pulling your hair out. Nancy, I thought I heard you say something like we got 6 more applications. Is that part of the 20 people? Okay, so we're at 20.
And that's the only reason this schedule that I was able to revamp this, because we were to fill in some more. Now again.
So the 6 people that just came in, do you know where did they come from? Do they have friends? Do they have
We're
other
so
people?
grateful. I don't know. You know, it had, like I mentioned to you, it's been all hands on deck. You know, we've sent notices to the high schools. We've sent notices to Bergen, Montclair State, William Patterson. I had a conversation with the Bergen Barracudas a couple of weeks ago. You know, we didn't ask them where they were coming from. We were, quite frankly, so grateful that they were with us, what their training level was. How could I process their financial hiring and get Steve to give them an orientation so I could get them in the chair?
Right. No, I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
but maybe have a casual conversation. Like, how'd you find
I
out?
mean, a lot of them are
How'd
from
you find out
Wyckoff.
about this? Are there
Yeah.
other people? Do you have any friends that might be interested?
We always ask that. I know I have another kid coming in. He's only available on Sunday, Mondays, and Tuesdays, but I have him coming
Better
in
than
on
nothing.
Friday that I'm working with, so I have to orientate him. And the orientation that I put them through, I'm sure you guys are all aware with our staff, it's 16 hours, and I'm putting these current kids through an 8-hour orientation. So it's not like I can just hire them off the street. Some of them don't even pass our prerequisite swim test. So
now sorry.
There's a lot that goes into making a lifeguard at Graydon that is much different than at a clear bottom pool.
So just a couple questions. With this new fluid schedule, how many hours are the kids working, the 8-hour days or
Our
10
kids would work from 8:50. Most of the kids would work 8:50 a.m. sharp till 6 p.m. Now, they wouldn't just leave at 6 p.m. They still have a half hour of post-closure cleanup and inspections and inventorying of equipment. That's just normal.
So that's like 10, 11 hours you're talking.
Well, there's the setup and...
I mean total.
Yeah, it's still a lot, but it's not as much as them working from 8:50 to 8, which is what they've been doing on the weekends. So, and within that scope, unfortunately still, no one can leave for a lunch break. We can give them an hour down, but they can't leave. If I have 5 lifeguards leave, I can't run a rescue. Because I'd have to wait for the entire water to clear and then
And
send a dive team in.
Everybody's willing to work that long of
This
a
is
day?
much more favorable than what they've been working. If they know they're able to leave, and also you'd be surprised how fast they can break down when they're motivated. They can probably get out of there at 6:20, 6:25, and that's the easy part of their day. The only people I would keep on a rotating basis would be my veteran staff to stay. Those are my 18, 19-year-old and college kids who can work an extra hour because it's just watching lappers. It's a single chair. A manager has to be there. And we wouldn't be, I just want to make it clear, like at 6 o'clock, we'd be announcing that the waterfront is closed, but we're not like actively ushering people off. I know we would probably run afoul of our commitments to Mike in the snack bar because he closes at 6:30 technically. He shuts down the grill, so we're not throwing anybody off the property.
Okay,
We're just simply
that was my
doing our
question.
regular maintenance, not trucking over people or carrying chairs across people's heads, but just calmly going around and doing what we have to do.
So could people stay till
The
7?
people could stay. I mean, we will have to reorganize some Adirondack chairs and lock them up for the evening, but for the most part, people could sit on the beach if they really wanted to.
Okay.
That's not
But no
something.
swimming.
There would be no,
No
swimming,
swimming.
except in that one section that's
Right.
guarded, of course. But, I'm not going to actively, no.
And then the last question is, what do we pay the lifeguards? Does everybody get the same, or are there senior lifeguards that get more? And are you competitive with other places? Are we higher, lower, same?
So just last week, I sent an employee action form to the village manager and our CFO, giving all of our staff a $3 raise across the board.
Okay.
And what does that bring them to, Nancy?
It varies, Councilman. I think that they're now starting at 16 an hour, and some of them are up to 25.
A starting lifeguard at 16?
Correct.
I mean, that sounds so low. I'm sorry.
As a member of the Pool Managers Association, we are paying kids more, but I know some of the bigger clear bottom clubs are starting at 14, but the difference between working here, I respect those managers, but simply put, the degree of demand I place on my lifeguards, the daily training they have to go to, the dives they have to make, the working with the fire department with their rescues, nothing compares to, and the sheer stress of working at a knot, although we do have 12 feet of visibility today, nothing compares to the stress I put them under, because that's what's required to make them great.
I would say if we can give them 16 to start with, seems unbelievable. You can get any job for that.
Can I just want to ask a couple of questions, if you don't mind? First, I wanted to hit on Brian, Susan, Deborah, and Fred earlier comments. So I'm going to start with Susan's comment. She stated earlier during public comment that the shifts for the 19-year-olds were too long. Money is everybody's happy about money, but it is a short-term motivator. Does an increase in pay motivate someone to want to work a longer shift?
May I?
Or is it not a motivation? It doesn't motivate?
The money for my lifeguards? No.
Okay.
They would much rather work a singular shift, more not just because that would mean they have enough backup.
Okay.
They really are kind of hammered with the idea of a team concept. They understand that the more lifeguards they have, the safer everybody is and the safer they feel. So they'd rather be part of a larger team and work a singular shift where they can be hyper-focused than work under duress, which they're already under. But adding to that duress does not help them.
So Fred's comment earlier, and I believe it was Fred who said that some of the lifeguards cleaning bathrooms, and I saw that Nancy was shaking her head at the time. So is that like kind of something that turns people off to wanting to work, or is that not really happening? I think that Fred said that lifeguards were cleaning bathrooms.
If they're not cleaning bathrooms this year, and we do, at the end of the night, do have to do some basic maintenance and garbage, and that's required. Is that a change from years past? Yes. Have I had to clean bathrooms at some point in my years here? Yes. Is that a daily thing that happens? No. Okay. But if you look at the American Red Cross lifeguard manual, the intrusion of secondary and tertiary responsibilities does affect our staff. When when there's a lot to do with the size of our lake, and when they're down, they need to be down. Or when I say, okay, guys, you got a 40-minute lunch, but you can't leave the back room, that's something that, it's.
So I just want to go back to a couple of comments from earlier. And I know it's complicated, right? As no doubt it's somewhat complicated. In terms of staffing, and I don't want to call the lifeguards kids, because we're really, I think, the staffing levels. So in terms of the lifeguard staffing levels, do you have we have a budget, and what I'm interested in understanding is, what are the lifeguard hours that are budgeted for weekly, and currently what of that budget are we actually using? And the reason I'm asking is because if we have a significant delta in the what we've budgeted for and what we're actually using, then that would allow us some flexibility in maybe negotiating with different lifeguards on their hours, because it may become more appealing if we just take that money and put it to the current. Maybe what we're doing is question. So what are the lifeguard hours that we budgeted for weekly, and what are we currently using?
We definitely will be overexpending our budget this year.
So we have less lifeguards, and we're budget busting at this point. Okay.
Only because a couple of factors have entered into this within the last few years. The minimum wage for the state of New Jersey continues to climb, and that has made a dramatic difference in what we're paying our staff. And the staff also get a raise according to the numbers of years that they're with us, and those that step up in a leadership capacity become shift leaders. So they are also paid at a higher rate. We have 4 shifts, so we have 4 shift leaders, and those are kind of the assistants. Those are the ones that put together the schedule, might sit in a chair, might make a change, do the water test, do some of the testing, interface with our patrons, that type of thing.
So, but again, just going back to the question, because maybe it's a negative, maybe it's a positive. I don't know the answer. I guess somebody should know the answer in terms of lifeguard hours budgeted for weekly in terms of dollars and cents, or maybe a little bit more simplistically is, if we had X amount of dollars budgeted for lifeguards and we're X weeks into the season, how much of that have we used, and what's available? So I think that I'm asking a question because whether we're exceeding our budget or not, it's a fair question. I'm just want to understand what the budget numbers look like, because if we have to find some wiggle room or find money to incentivize people to look. I was in a store the other day, and I'll just tell everybody, I was at Nordstrom Rack. Okay, they have a sign in the window, and I want to broadcast for Nordstrom Rack, but they're paying $20 an hour to go work in the store, and you probably get an employee discount. So I'm just saying there's something appealing about, working you're in air conditioning, you're getting an hour, so we have to make this job, because it's a serious job that we're talking about, safety, public safety. So again, the question is, how can we make this work with what we have? What did we budget for lifeguards, and what are our current expenses, and how does that break down moving forward?
So the variables involved are the numbers of staff that we have on board. We have a preseason in May where we have staff setting up the facility for us. So those are ours. We right now are in our early season, which are abbreviated hours during the week, where we have less numbers. Hopefully, starting next Monday, we open up with our regular season. So regular season for us is all of our staff. So our high school students are graduating tonight, right? They're out of the classroom. They will be, all of our juniors and seniors from the high school will be joining us, probably not this weekend, but definitely on Monday morning. You know, so now we have our high school staff in addition to our college staff. So we have a full component of staff, and we will have that for 6 weeks. After the 6 weeks, the very beginning of August, our college students will be going back really quickly. Within the first 10 days of August, they're gone. And then those either student athletes or, right, our high school kids, those that have something serious that they're studying, most likely are going to want to leave early and attend to that. So whether they're in the marching band, whether they're playing football, whatever their other commitments are in life takes a precedent over lifeguarding. And that's what Steve and I said. You know, we can put this schedule together for now. We can't predict what's going to happen in August. Young adults have priorities, and those priorities change according to the direction of their parents.
If I'm understanding, you're talking about is there going to be a short-term gain from a salary increase? Yeah. Is there going to be a long-term gain in terms of getting more hours on my kids? Under no circumstances, nor would I schedule them for more than that.
I think what Susan is trying to get to is that if, and I'm just going to pick numbers out of the air, if let's say we have 10 guards working a week right now, and normally we have 20, and those aren't the right numbers, but if we normally have 20 guards working every week, then we're paying more hours every week. Are you with me so far?
Right. Oh, so you're talking about the general expenditure of hours.
We're spending less money because there's less guards and less hours. So if that's the case, first if you could tell us, and then could we take some of that money that we're not spending on our regular hours that we would like to be spending and incentivize guards by paying them more? Is that what you were looking at?
Yeah, and thank you for clearing that up. I mean, you're reading now, you're even reading my mind. It's getting scarier.
It's getting scary.
So
I would like the opportunity to be able to go back and look at our salaries and look at our staff.
Yeah, you might not have those numbers at your fingertips, but I think that is a fair
and
thing to look at.
I know you're not going. I think that what I'm asking is exactly that. If you can go back and take a look at what the budgeted amount, and even if you break it out, whether you break it out for the whole summer, break it out weekly, there is a number that you have access to X amount of dollars, but you're not using that because your staffing levels aren't what they were or what you budgeted for. So when I think exactly right, maybe there's a way when we do that analysis, we can figure out where there's got to be wiggle room somewhere to incentivize people to come to work.
We can work on that.
Yep.
But I think, August is right around the corner, and is there anything we can do now to try and find people for August, for when the kids go back to college?
Well, I know we moved up usually our August scheduling meetings at the end of July. Actually, our regular scheduling meeting is during orientation, but we moved that up almost 3 weeks. So we're moving our July meeting up a couple of weeks, and we'll get a bit more prospectus on when the college kids are leaving, so we'll have better numbers. And then obviously, whether the lifeguarding class runs or not, I still hold those hours, so any new kids we get, I can train and upgrade to waterfront. But I think also, with the current schedule, I think this is necessary to evaluate, and really, in my very humble opinion, as a public servant, adopt by this weekend, because I have an entire 6-page schedule that my kids have not seen. They've just given me days they can work. They don't know when they're working, and our regular season actually technically starts on Saturday. And if I'm being truthful, because I know these kids, if you tell them they have to work another 12-hour weekend, they're not coming back. They'll go work an 8-hour shift somewhere else for $13 an hour, because it's mindless.
Look, money is it may be a short-term motivator, but money is a motivator. It is a motivator. If I needed someone to work a 12-hour shift and they were like, hey, yeah, that's not happening, there may be other ways to incentivize and to encourage. I don't think that anyone should necessarily work a 12-hour shift on such a demanding task, but if it came down to that, I think that when we do this analysis, you may find that there's other ways to incentivize people to work those hours. The other thing, and I think it was Fred said, did Fred say he was a lifeguard at one point?
Mm-hmm.
So
he did.
What I actually wonder is why we're not going out to the Freds and the other people out in the world that may actually be able to come back and fill in on some of those hours, older folks that maybe just are looking.
Fred, Fred, I'll take your application.
Well, if I Fred,
come on, Fred.
In truth, the waterfront lifeguarding course is about a 46-hour course that you would have to take.
There may be people. I don't know how often you have to take that class.
Every 2 years.
Every 2 years. So, I don't know all the answers. I just think that.
And there's a prerequisite swim test that I failed. My current lifeguards have failed.
I'm sorry.
I said there's a prerequisite swim test that it's very challenging just to get into the class.
So could I just say one thing? This is the first I'm hearing of this proposal, but my understanding from what you're saying is that your guards would rather work an 8-hour day, and you've given me the $3 an hour increase per hour, as opposed to working the 12-hour day for maybe another $1 or $2 more.
You could pay them $50 an hour. The stress they're under
so
on
you're
the 12-hour
saying that
day.
time is
they
more
love
important.
working at Graydon.
Yeah, but you're
they
saying
want to be here.
The shorter shift is what they really want.
It's the ideal shift with the duress.
That's what you're
under.
saying. So what they're saying is they want the 8-hour shift. And so by closing at 6 and allowing the lapse from 6 to 7 for the adults, except on the weekends, you're going to get those guards to feel, and also answer this question because I think I understand. In that 8-hour shift, they get an hour lunch, but they just have to stay on the premises. So they do get 45 minutes to an hour break for lunch. Is that correct, more or less?
All it costs me is pizza money.
I'm sorry?
All it costs me is some pizza money.
Okay.
That's fine.
Okay, but what I'm saying is, so they just stay on
We
the
can build
premises,
that
but
in,
they do get
absolutely.
an actual break off the chair and can go and eat and drink,
Yes.
some water and, okay. That's what I wanted to be sure. So they are getting a break in that 8-hour day for a lunch break somewhere.
Absolutely. And
Okay.
currently they've only had one last Sunday. That's been the only hour break they've ever had all season.
Okay, so what's good is it's like a 7-hour shift. And I can understand why that would be amenable to them, because this way they're not as tired, they're not as stressed out, and so I think that's what you're saying. I agree, we should look at the budget, see if we have extra money to see if we can even incentivize it more. However, I think that what you're saying is that the 8-hour shift is what they're looking for.
Yeah, and it also allows them to move around the pool more and switch their field of vision, which is really important, as opposed to staying in the same stands over and over for some days 11 hours.
And I had one other question. By doing this 8-hour shift, am I correct in my understanding that every area will be open every day?
So if you have a visual of the pool,
Well, we have the
the
little
deep
thing.
water in front of the manager's office will be open. The
Okay.
docks, the high dive, the far side of the pool for lessons, the kiddie pool, and the shallow water section by Linwood Avenue. By my numbers right now, will be open. Now, what won't be open, like those that stand by the pavilion, stand 8, but people will still have access to the handicap walkway. And only once lessons end, we could potentially open stand 7, which is basically where by the picnic area, by the grills, that stand, which actually doesn't necessarily need to be open for people to even use the 12-foot dock or the high dive.
So the beach area is open?
Absolutely.
And people can walk in like if go down the wall and then walk from
Absolutely.
there into the deep end?
Yeah,
if they
it
don't
will
wanna
provide
go?
them all of the deep water amenities except for the dock will be open, the diving boards will be open, the deep water, the high dive and the low dive will be open.
Okay, okay.
So what will be closed?
Just the two, basically, the two backup lifeguard. We have basically in the deep water, there's 4 lifeguard stands that cover the whole deep water. I don't know if there's a visual that I can.
Yeah, we do. I have it.
We have
We got it.
If I
Yeah.
have it.
Sure, please do.
Use numbers.
Deep water, 7 and 8.
Okay.
Would be closed. But those stands, they do provide overlapping zone coverage, which helps the lifeguards in the matter. Like when we do a rescue in the deep water, if someone is drowning, 4 lifeguards go. That's the way it is. The initial signaling lifeguard and then 3 backup guards will go.
Okay, which brings me to some of my questions. First of all, I mean, my initial look at this is that you're really trying to pull together something that's very difficult to do. I want to address one quick thing that Lorraine mentioned about middle of August. I know from my experience, we hire a lot of college kids in the summer. Second week in August, they're gone. They are just, I mean, the place just empties. So there's nothing you can do about that, and that's why I know your August 6th date is up. Everything's up for grabs. So I get that. Here's my how many guards do you need for your deep water rescue?
For a surface rescue, you need 4. You need your initial and you need your 3 backups. For a surface dive, if somebody's under the water, to do a surface dive chain, you need a minimum of 6. We wouldn't have that.
And how many guards under this schedule will be on at any given time?
Most days, so based on my numbers for the next 6 weeks, I was wondering how many 10.5 guards. I was like, was there a short person working? No, that's just a kid who's working a half a day. Somewhere between 10 all the way up to 13, which is 5 or 6 less than the 18 that would be required.
But when you say 10 to 13, you'll have 10 guards on the property
For the 8 hours.
at any given time.
At a time. They will come here at 8:50 and they will leave it, and then 6, if there's 10 people on the property, if 10 lifeguards, 10 would report at 8:50 in the morning for pre-work.
Right.
They would, 8 of them would leave at 6 o'clock to do their 8-hour shift. 2 of the older ones would then stay for lap swim during the week.
And how many would you normally have?
Well, if I could have my druthers, I'd have 10.
In your past history, when you had 36,
I'd have a 10 on 10. I'd have 10 lifeguards report at 8:50. They would work from 10 to 6, and then I have another 10 lifeguards coming from basically 11:30 to swim, train. They would be off the property by 8 after they got done. So in the peak hours of the day, I'd have 20 lifeguards there.
But you always have at least 10 now.
Yeah, I basically have a single shift. That's why it needs to be a single shift, because I only have enough for one shift. So when you think about that, if you have 10 lifeguards in the chairs, that's every chair covered plus backup coverage on the docks, which is on the heavy, like in the kiddie area or the shallow end. I could put a lifeguard out there. Plus, I have another 10 to dive for someone. God forbid someone goes down in the deep water.
So, at
that point, I don't even need the fire department. I have enough guards to run it by myself.
And I think I know the answer to this question because I know you wouldn't do anything that makes us skinny in terms of guards. But do we have enough guards to run the pool under this schedule and feel safe and comfortable that everything is covered in a Blackwater pool?
I would only open enough stands to make it safe.
That's the answer.
I would only open enough to make it safe. I mean, and it gives you any comfort, as I've been an instructor for going on 10 years now, you know, if we don't have, I'm the one that sits up. I've sat up for 3 hours this year on my own to give my guards a break. So have my other managers, because we're all trained lifeguards. So we're in it. I know a lot of people are under the impression that this current schedule with, you know, cutting hours makes our lives as managers are awful. It's nonstop stress trying to help these kids out. These kids are crying. They're tired. So we have to take that onus off of them. This one helps them. It gives them a sense of normalcy, and if they feel better about coming to work, you know, unlike economics, which doesn't trickle down, this does. Safety will. When our lifeguards are taken care of, they will provide better surveillance to our patrons because they're not tired, they're not distracted, they're not being asked to do this, and they're not wondering why they're in 2 chairs all day for 12 hours or 11 hours.
So I just have one more question because Paul just raised an interesting, just one more time, the current number of lifeguards that are actually currently employed, the total number currently employed.
I can tell you the current number on my distribution list is, well, no, because Mrs. Bigos is on there.
Not on the distribution list. How many guards?
Those are the only ones on my distribution list are the ones that are hired. So there's maybe 20?
Maybe 20.
Maybe 20 guards.
So 20 on the distribution list, and so those 20 are currently employed by the Village of Ridgewood as grade and lifeguards.
Yep.
We've completed all the paperwork, we did everything, and they're employed. Is that accurate? I just want to be sure.
With the exception of just the newest ones that would have gone through their paperwork is probably still processing.
So that's one new person?
There's one I've come in on Friday. The last 3 I trained, I've been told their paperwork is in.
Okay, so let me just do this one more time. Currently, 20 lifeguards are employed, gainfully employed by the Village of Ridgewood as lifeguards. How many are we currently waiting for to be processed and coming in?
Probably just the one that's coming on Friday. I was told, given another email of another kid, but he's never responded to me.
So when I thought I heard Nancy say earlier that you had 6 applications come in for lifeguards. So of those 6, where are they in the equation?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I know that Steve has trained 3 of them. There is one that we're waiting for his paperwork to come in. So, you know, when you deal with young adults, you have to understand their psychiatry and their priorities. It's like herding cats.
I raised them. You know, I know that. Not all of them. I don't want to insult all the young adults. They're not all like herding cats, but some. But I just want to like really kind of nail down this number. So we have 20 gainfully employed lifeguards with the Village of Ridgewood. We are in receipt of 6 applications, and of those 6,
that includes the 20.
The 20 is
Part of those 6 are in the 20.
In the 20, I understand that. Yeah. I understand that. I'm getting there. How many of the 6 are in the 20? Did you say 3?
3. I've only put 3 new kids. My distribution list hasn't changed since I added those last 3 kids, and I trained them last Sunday.
Okay, so
if there's any new application that is sent to me by Ms. Fry, the recreation director,
okay,
I've stepped out of class to call them.
So we had 17 out of the 6 applications. We increased our 17 to 20, and then we should have 3 applicants still outstanding.
Potentially 3 more,
okay, that's.
But you do have to remember, though, we still only have 6 kids working 5 days a week.
Right.
That's the number. The only number that matters is the amount of kids that are committing to 5-day-a-week work.
You may have some of those guards working 1 day a week.
No, I understand that.
Okay.
I get it. I understand that.
Okay.
But no, when you're cobbling together a schedule, I understand that you might have 20, but maybe those 20 only cover X number of hours. I get that. I'm just trying to understand how many lifeguards we actually had, because Paul said we just talked 10 and 10, right? 10 and 10. And so presumably, to get to the 10 and 10, you had to have 20 on-staff lifeguards.
Well, what I asked and what Steve responded to is how many guards are on the property at any given time. And
Right.
he said 10.
10.
So they always have 10 guards, or virtually always, except for maybe the perimeter hours.
10, it was actually, what I wrote down is, looks between 10, there's 10 between the hours of 8 and 11:30, and 10 between the hours of 6 and 8.
No,
and then
that was when I worked there as a kid. I'm talking like historically, that's been, and to do that, we had a staff of 28 5-day-a-week lifeguards.
I understood that was a historical number. So I'm asking, how many lifeguards do you have now? That's what I'm just want to know.
We have 20, and only, so we're at least 65 to 75% understaffed at the current work levels.
That's, thank you.
Right.
So we're woefully understaffed.
And I think the issue is that to run this schedule, they have 10 lifeguards working to run this schedule, working at any given time. And what they want to do is run it as 1 8-hour shift.
Correct.
So that they can run those 10, and the next day, it's going to be a different, at least several of them will be a different 10. 5 of them may be the same, but the second 5
Correct.
will be rotating in and out.
Understood. Got it.
Are any of the 6 new applications people that want to work full-time?
Nope. Which is always a fun. No. They're busy. Listen, I stopped being judgmental a long time ago. I'll take what I can get at this point. If they're good kids and they can swim, and I train them, and they're not fearful of drilling and training and going down to the bottom and working hard, then I keep them.
Good. Another question. Nancy, you had said you went out on Facebook to look. Did you go on, any of the Ridgewood the moms and dads, the village of Ridgewood? Because I've never seen anything on Facebook on those groups.
Okay.
So can we do that again?
Absolutely. That's easy.
Okay. Because I don't know. Has anybody?
No, I know that we did this last year. I know for certain that it was done last year, because I remember when we did it, I think there was...
Well, I'm talking this year.
Yeah, I don't know about this year. I know it's definitely been done. I just wanted to go back to one other thing while you're going through that. Brian, who was here earlier, he left with his son.
Yes.
He made the point to say that under 16 is not allowed to be at Graydon without a parent or adult supervision. I wholly agree with him that having responsible younger people there, I know that there's a responsibility issue, but some people are responsible younger, some people are irresponsible when they're older. So age doesn't necessarily dictate, your level of maturity. Is that an option? Because what is the youngest age of a lifeguard?
16.
16. So 16.
16 at a waterfront, 15 at a clear bottom. But if I may, and I said, I'm very much open to discussing it, but those facilities that allow 13, 14-year-olds are completely secured. One way in, one way out. Clear bottom. I know them from the Pool Managers Association. There's no open, they can walk to the park and leave the property and be unaccounted for and not call their parents. There is a lot of variables at Graydon that other pools do not have.
Understood.
And I've had parents try to drop off 8-year-olds because they want to throw a barbecue. So I'm not saying that's everybody, but I have a greater responsibility to everyone. My lifeguards don't watch your kid, they watch every kid. So am I up for discussion and a negotiation on that? Yeah. Am I going to allow 12-year-olds there? No. That is absolutely, completely irresponsible at a lakefront facility.
Has the age changed at all?
Not in all my years there.
Okay, so just this gentleman, Brian, just realized his son cannot go without an adult.
Okay.
It's not that the age changed.
No, the age didn't change. The enforcement levels have.
Okay.
You know, when we're short-staffed, everybody's watching who's coming in, and, you know, we're all really diligent in rule following and being aware of what's going on at the facility.
Okay. I mean, I grew up in Fairlawn, and I lived at Memorial Pool all summer when I was 14 and 15, and my parents.
I came to
with
Graydon
me.
when I was, I grew up in town, so I mean,
different
but
time.
That was 10 years ago, and life is
things have
different.
changed.
So, question: do you have any idea what age at Memorial Pool?
I
I
can talk to them the next time I'm at the meeting. That's not a problem. That's next month. Actually, I could probably email them through the Pool Managers Association. That would be no problem.
I just want to jump in here that I have some experience in employing people at my business, and I will tell you that in 25 years, it has never been like this, ever.
I know.
We used to get dozens of applications. We had people coming back for years and years. I had kids who went to college and grad school and worked for us for 7 years, and we get nobody. And we are on ad sites, all sorts of things, college bulletin boards. And by the way, it's not just young adults.
No,
It's
crazy.
adults, regular employees. It is not the same. Something happened in the pandemic. I don't know what it is, but 3 years ago, I had a list of people to call if somebody dropped out. Now, it's just, we used to run with 6 waiters. I have 2. That's what we have. And we're doing the same thing that you're doing, except it's not as critical to get it right. And so we close off sections, and it's a very, very, it's just bizarre what's going on. So I just want to say, I think that if you can do this, and again, you answered my question, which was, we run with 10, which is enough, and if we don't have enough, we close off sections. So, and again, I knew that was the answer. I just wanted to hear it out loud. I have another question. I have heard of late that some of the staff have not been treated with the respect that everyone is due by some of the patrons. How accurate is that?
It's true. But as I've told my staff, and if I may be candid here, I've told them that I'm really not paying my staff for their charming personalities. I'm paying them to be excellent lifeguards. So I've taught them to kind of let stuff roll off their shoulder, and if there is an incident that I need to handle, then I will handle it. We pay them to be lifeguards, and we beat them to hell to be great ones. And what I'm trying to do is, with this 6-week schedule, is not only save this season, but retain them for next year, knowing that we're treating them right. And so I'll take the abuse from the patrons. That's par for the course as a public servant. I'm sure you're not immune to it. So it's par for the course. Do I like it? No. But the staff know that I pay them to do their job, and if there's an issue, I will handle it. Ms. Pagos will tell me I handled it wrong, but I will handle it because I have to look my staff in the eye and look their parents in the eye, and my parents have to look their parents in the eye, and I have to keep those kids, and I have to protect them. But it's very true. Numerous female members have been called a bitch by patrons for enforcing basic rules.
And what is your policy when a patron is abusive to a staff member?
Well, at that point, we would go out to them. We would tell them that their time is done here and that any future altercation would probably result in a revocation of their badge.
I would strongly urge that you enforce that strictly. It is not for me to do that. It is up to the village manager to do that. But I will just share with you how that's handled in my place of business, which is we ask a patron to stop being abusive, and if they don't, we would call the police. It is simple and clear. People make mistakes. My staff makes mistakes. I make mistakes. Your staff makes mistakes. It is not a license for anyone to be abusive, and more importantly, to young adults.
I agree.
Because then they're not abused, then they're just bullies. So, again, I urge the village manager, because this is her call, to say that this is something that is a zero tolerance issue.
I agree
and
with
I
you
want
100%.
I want everyone watching this to understand that this is a zero tolerance issue.
I do think it's important that, I agree, but I think it's important that we have clear scheduling and rules, because my understanding is that one of the a more recent issue was that somebody was there with the children, little ones. You know, we all know you spend like hours packing up your kids and making sure the peanut butter and jelly doesn't have sand all over it, and you do all those things, and then you get there and you find out 15 minutes in that section of the pool is closed, and so you get somebody who's just frustrated, and they take it out on the wrong person, and that's the nature of it. So, but I think that it may go, it might be beneficial to have clear hours, and I know that we spoke about, and I want to ask you, the recycle coach notifications, whether or not I know we're waiting, but I think we can do it. I think that Joanna already called. So if we have the I think you were copied on that email, that if we can use the recycle coach, because a lot of municipalities are using it for different things other than just recycling, so you have push notifications. So first thing in the morning, if we encourage everyone, and I'm on recycle coach, I just want to tell everybody I'm on recycle coach all the time. So that little push notification tells a parent in the morning that something's come up and that this section of the pool won't be open, or what is open, what's not open, what's going on, when there's a yellow flag. All those push notifications can be sent to people's phone. There's no guessing. I wouldn't pack up my 2- and 3-year-old grandkids and get them ready for the pool only to find out that something's closed, and then the poor staff is bearing the brunt of their frustration. So I think that we have to really get on those push notifications, because I think that opportunity is something, especially now as we're going into the regular season, we should be doing that and constantly with just getting that information out into the public so that people know, what to expect. And I think that if people know what to expect, then there's no, there are no surprises.
And I think the adoption of this schedule, knowing that the hours will be 10 to 6, and again, yes, if I'm being truthful, the weekends are going to be subject to, especially Saturdays. We are low on staff on Saturdays. That would be one of the first things that the manager on Saturday would have to do, is notify the recreation staff of what sections would be open. But as I can predict, and since I work Sundays, I've already looked at the next 6 Sundays. The next 6 Sundays, Sunday through Friday, should be, again, barring any magical vacations that all of a sudden these kids get sent on, pretty ruthlessly consistent with the sections that are open and the staffing. Because we've scheduled our schedule, which again, I do need to send out, has been scheduled around everybody's vacations, We don't give them days, they give us days. Every kid had to submit every vacation they were going on, every banquet they had. We have scheduled an entire staff's 6 weeks around 4, 5, 8, and 10 vacation days. They're not even working on those days. This is a tailor-made schedule to the 20 staff members we have. Every single day is tailor-made. If somebody gets sick, death in the family, which we've had, unfortunately, can't do anything about those. We had 2 guards go home with stomach viruses today. I can't argue with that. But there are no surprises in their schedule, and there should be no more surprises.
Right.
So I can, here and now, I can tell you that Sunday to Friday is going to be a ruthlessly consistent schedule. And I'm there Sunday to Thursday.
I have to say, and having been through doing exactly this at my place of business, I'm very impressed. I think that this is, you've cobbled together an excellent schedule that meets virtually all of the needs. It's not perfect in a very imperfect year, but it comes much closer than I thought it would at 7:30 this evening. So I think that this is really, really a great job. And I'll throw in the caveat, and it's subject to change.
I hope not.
So thank you very much for that.
Yeah, I appreciate it too. Like I said, this is the first I saw it, and I'm glad to see that all of the sections should be open. I realize barring, some emergency or some, unknown absence, it's going to happen. And so I thank you that every area should be open every day, and that you're also allowing lap swim between 6 and 7 every weekday.
Those are my biggest supporters.
Yeah,
So
it's great.
Can't ignore them.
I just want to make sure, obviously Councilman Vagianos is in favor of this. I just need to make sure that you all are, so that he can give this schedule to the guards beginning this weekend.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I'm good. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I mean, I'm good, but I don't want it to end here. Like, I think we really need to.
I promise you it will be
looking
ongoing
for
and full.
more,
You have my word on that.
guards, and Nancy, if you could get the information that the mayor asked for, if we could incentivize, a little more with a little money, that would be great. But totally agree with this schedule for now, and let's try and, think if we can do it. I mean, seriously, ask these new kids, you got a brother, you got a friend, you got anybody.
And actually, not to continue the conversation because I think we're all good, but something in the back of your mind you might want to think about, those 14 and 15-year-olds that are sitting out there wanting to go to Graydon. Why not consider a lifeguard in training program?
If I may, there is.
Oh, do you have a lifeguard in training program?
I have an answer for that. I'm sorry. I have a lot of answers. It's been defunct for a long time, so I'd probably have to amend it, but there is, in years past, there has been a junior lifeguarding program that the American, I don't know if it's still within the scope and purview, but could I run a pseudo lifeguarding class under the jurisdiction of that with a certificate or through Dan's Recreation? Yes, I certainly could.
You have young people who want to be at Graydon. We are looking toward the future. We should be looking at these youngsters as lifeguards in training, some kind of junior lifeguard, whatever it is that works in Nancy's book. And if we, whatever we can do to make that happen, we should really be out and doing some outreach to that population and saying, come on, we're going to do this. And I think that is maybe looking to the future today. So.
I can concur completely.
Very good.
And to avoid future controversy, how will we be getting this word out to the public?
Obviously, I'm going to, right now it currently has the wrong hours on it, so I will have my manager redo it, my scheduling manager redo it. That should be get out to us by tomorrow. It will go right to Mrs. Bigos and Ms. Fry. I will send it out to my staff, and then obviously,
Can it go
I'm
out
sure
through
this is not
Community
pretty
Pass?
enough for Ms. Fry, but she can pretty up this schedule, and we can even post this document. after she makes it look really
So
nice.
we'll post it at Graydon. We'll post it on the website.
Absolutely.
We can use our community pass to put the word out.
Excellent.
In a couple different media, also Facebook. You know, we can just look at the new hours. You know, we've got this covered on
Yep.
our end.
Gotcha. And then, of course, Fred, do we have you thinking about it? Don't say no. I see experience in those eyes.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you, council.
Does she need to be here for the stable thing? Does she have something else?
If you have questions. I mean, it's a basic, it's done every few years, but we could do it right now. Sure.
Well, I don't have any.
Let's do it. We could do it right now.
We'll just get that done.
All right, sure. Thank you, Steve. I
Thank you,
appreciate it.
Steve. Thanks so much.
All right, so we're jumping just to this one, here it is, for C4. So this is for every few years, we go out for refurbishment of the stable. It's for the washing, and then they restain it. And I'm getting my paperwork here. So it's the exterior wood siding and cedar roof of the stable. It'll include repairs to all wood siding, trim and soffits, the power washing of all 4 exterior sides and the cedar roof, as well as the 2 cupolas and front pillars, 2 coats of oil-based stain, in addition to painting of all trim doors and accents. 3 quotes were obtained. The low quote was from 5 Star Painting of Westwood, New Jersey, $24,745. And the funding is in both the capital and operating budgets.
So does anyone have any questions for Nancy on that?
I just think that's a great price.
Okay.
I
Thanks.
know we've done it before, but I know some people are new, so maybe they had questions. I don't know. Okay. All right.
Okay.
We're good?
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor,
All right,
for
thank
pointing
you,
that
Nancy.
out.
Good night.
All right, so now we will have Officer Chirino come up. We're going through our shared loading zones. This is the revised version that we agreed to at the last meeting. I just want to make sure we're all in, you know, we all agreed to this is what we did.
Yeah.
Everyone does. So, I think what...
No, that's okay.
It's up to you.
We are just all over the place with this agenda, so.
Okay.
It's
Sorry,
just-
I'm just scrolling.
It's not going to be as colorful as the PowerPoint, but this should be hopefully the final version after our last 2 discussions.
Yeah. So these are the revisions that were made. So if we start with Chestnut, right? Chestnut, Ridgewood Avenue.
So Chestnut and East Ridgewood, after our discussions, we would like to extend the current loading zone by utilizing that first 15-minute spot to create a 45-foot loading zone. That 3-hour spot that's just north will remain a 3-hour spot. Across the street, where we had that bank of 5 meters, we agreed on 3 15-minute spots closest to East Ridgewood Avenue, with the 2 spots closest to the kiosk being 3 hours.
Yep.
So just on the, go back to the loading zone. I was still scrolling, sorry. Just do that one more time.
So the initial proposal was to utilize 2 spots and make it our largest loading zone. After discussions, we want to just utilize that 1 extra spot, which is just behind the current zone, to create a 45-foot spot. What we can do is we will then utilize both those spaces, the current loading zone and the current 15-minute, and we can make those both 15-minute meters from the 4 to 8 p.m. hour.
Yeah, so I'm just still grappling with putting trucks in front of one person's business for all those hours. I'm still struggling with that because I think that we effectively block him all day long, and he's not, that particular business isn't getting those deliveries. He gets a little UPS drop package, I'm certain. So they're not his deliveries, and he's getting that in front of him all day.
Are the trucks there anyway now?
Yep.
Yep.
They're there anyway.
Well, they look, when you create the loading zone specifically and you start to enforce, then where trucks may have been parked, maybe closer to Park West Tavern or elsewhere, they're going to be moving into those loading zones automatically. So what's happening then is even though the trucks aren't there all the time, limiting those spaces to the loading zone areas, that actually will cause the trucks to be there all day long. So that actually puts them there all day. It effectively makes that a permanent thing, and all those trucks that are parking all over will have no choice but to park in that loading zone. So why is it fair? I mean, I'm just saying, to me, it seems fundamentally unfair to put a loading zone there for, all day long, permanently, blocking one person's business, because all the trucks are going to have to now, even if it's only using as a loading zone, maybe in the morning, there'll be no choice but the trucks to be there all day long.
But Susan, they do have another choice, because we're creating another loading zone further down the block. That should take off some of the pressure. The trucks will be able to also park just a few spots away.
So my preference would be, and I don't know, Ray, you're welcome to tell me, I would, if that's going to be a loading zone, I would prefer if it were only a loading zone until noon. And then after 12 o'clock, it becomes regular parking, because I just don't think it's fair to have one business, and while there may be a loading zone at the other end of the block, we already heard that that might not be the loading zone that everyone wants to use, that this one will be the more desirable. So I'm not really happy about it, because I just don't think it's fair. Why, maybe if we just do that one till noon, that would be okay. I don't know, and I wait for everyone else to chime in. I
think that would be confusing to the truckers as well as to regular residential parkers, because it'd be different from all the other loading zones.
Well,
I believe to make this any sort of success for what we're trying to achieve here, it needs to be uniform across the board.
Yeah.
Or it would create confusion within the other zones. Giving them the other loading zones, there are other zones that will hopefully take some of the pressure off of the current ones. But even as this one sits at its current 24 feet, it's barely accessible for its current use. It needs to be extended to accommodate those stores. And I know the store, I know Gary, and I know that it's visually unsightly, but it's occurring, it's creating a dangerous situation, and this is the remedy that we found going forward can hopefully alleviate the safety aspect of what we're dealing with. And then once we see how this is going, I think this is just kind of the beginning of good things going forward. And if it's not being utilized, if it's being overutilized, if it's being underutilized, I don't think it will be, specifically this one. But I'm definitely open for conversations if we implement this going forward.
This is actually better for Gary's customers, because when it was just a regular loading zone before, they couldn't use it after 4 o'clock anyway.
Yeah, correct.
Now, he does this. He'll tell his clients, come after 4 o'clock. There's parking right in front of my place.
This does open up another
spot.
spot.
Him than what he's got now.
So it is adding a spot in front of him from 4 to 8 p.m.
Yeah.
which is prime time for people getting out of work and
That's right.
stopping by his location.
Yep.
Okay, let's continue.
Okay, so the next one's Chestnut at Franklin, right?
Chestnut and Franklin, there were no changes from
Right,
my
everyone
original.
agreed, and Franklin and Oak, everyone agreed with those. The next
So
one, go ahead.
So if we're going in order, Broad Street and East Ridgewood Avenue.
No, Chestnut Street at East Ridgewood Avenue on the east side, I think is next.
I have Franklin Avenue.
Right, yeah, it's Franklin.
So Chestnut Street-
Chestnut and Franklin, the 2 to 3.
Yeah, you had all agreed to those.
Right.
Yeah,
To-
so Chestnut Street at Franklin
and the
Avenue.
Oak Street one.
There are no
and
changes.
And then the
you
next
agreed.
one is Franklin Avenue at Oak Street.
And that was agreed to also. Everyone agreed unanimously on those.
I'm sorry, so the ones on the east side of Chestnut Street,
Everyone agreed to them the last
curious.
time, yes.
On the east side, those are going to be switched to the 3 15-minute and 2 regular, right?
Correct.
Correct.
So that's the east, Chestnut Street on the east side against, what, Blue Mercury. I was going to say Blueberry. Blue Mercury. Okay, and then we go to the other side. Now we're down to Chestnut Street at Franklin, the 2 to 3 hour west side.
Right.
And that one was okay with everyone?
Right.
Because there's
Correct.
nothing
Right.
there.
Right. And the
Yes.
next one was okay.
Franklin Ave at Oak Street, those are restaurants there, so they're getting, those are their deliveries anyway, so that should be fine.
Right, everyone
And
agreed.
that's the
Okay.
drawing for that.
Right.
So the next one is East Ridgewood and Broad, right, North Broad?
East Ridgewood and North Broad. So what we changed going forward from the original is we are going to remove the current 19-foot loading zone and make that a 3-hour spot.
Correct.
On South Broad Street, we agreed on the 2 spots creating a 42-foot loading zone, which would be 6 to 4 p.m. loading, and then 2 15-minute meters from 4 to 8.
Wait,
I'm
wait,
confused.
we
I'm
just lost
confused
this.
on that.
Sorry.
So we're looking at the page that says South Broad at East Ridgewood Ave, west side. And it says 1 15-minute meter, 1 3-hour spot.
Yep. That's what it currently
That's
is.
the existing.
Okay, what do you plan to do
Go
with it?
to the
That is
picture,
going
the
to be,
The next
Hold
two
on.
diagram.
2 more pages. Now you see the whole.
Okay,
yeah, I apologize. I'm going right to the diagrams. I apologize.
so that's going to be a loading zone till 4, and then 2 15-minute spots.
Correct.
Okay. And then on North Broad, it's too small, I can't read that.
It's too small and not colorful. Right above North Broad, where you see those 4 spots, those are going to be 15-minute spots. They're currently complimentary spots. Across the street, closer to the hole, there is a 15-minute spot that we're going to turn into a 3-hour spot because it's kind of creating a traffic issue over there.
Okay. And then I do have a question, because I know we talked about it the very first time. Oh, actually, not even the very first time. It was just in the subcommittee.
Okay.
You talked about the spot, or not spot, but across from, say,
Right.
Bagelicious.
The
Yep.
taxi
We
stand.
talked about
We're going to get to
that.
that.
Taxi
We're
stand,
gonna
I
get to that.
added that.
We're going to get to
Okay.
that.
Yeah, I did add that to this one.
Okay, all right. So we'll
Okay,
wait.
so
till we
now
get
Oak
North
Street.
Broad Street, was that where we had to, for the 15-minute spots on the east side of the street, is that where we have to move a kiosk?
Possibly. If we do, we will.
Okay.
We will.
I think you're right, Pam.
Okay.
Yeah. I think
Yeah,
there
we
is
may
one.
have to. But we will do so. Okay, next is,
So then we move to Oak Street at East Ridgewood Avenue. And if we move past the pictures, I'm going to go directly to the diagram. So I'll start with the loading zone that we're proposing, which was going to be, it's currently 2 3-hour spots. It's going to be just north of that driveway. Across from Raymond's, we have that that bank of 5 meters. They're currently 4 complimentary spots. We're going to change that to 3 15-minute meters and 2 3-hour spots. I believe the kiosk is basically right in between those 2 3-hour spots. That 15-minute meter that's in front of the old Lucky Brand on Oak Street is going to remain. And then if we go across East Ridgewood Avenue at Van Nest, the west side of Van Nest, we're going to make those first 3 spots all 15-minute meters so they don't have to cross the street and use the kiosk.
So let me go back to Oak Street now, north of East Ridgewood Ave, where the loading zone is. Now, again, is that so we have what's right there? That's
there's
Leonard Anthony.
A cleaner?
A cleaners there.
An Omaha Steaks?
Shoemaker.
A shoemaker just just north of that.
So again, and I can't tell from this perspective, I can't see how far the loading zone goes into those areas. But again, we're blocking these businesses all day, but they're not the businesses getting the deliveries. Their businesses are the shoemaker. He gets his delivery from me like once a week in a brown paper bag. So, we're blocking his business all day long when he's not the person getting the delivery. And I hear what you're saying, that the trucks are there anyway. Maybe sometimes they are, maybe sometimes they're not. But by doing this, what we're doing is we're creating a situation where presumably there'll be enforcement. So if there's enforcement, that means the trucks aren't just going to be able to park anywhere. They'll have no choice but to park there. And once again, they're there in front of those businesses, blocking them all day long. So again, and my big problem with it is they're not the businesses that those trucks are delivering to. They're not restaurants. And so I'm not, it's not a criticism, because I know you worked hard on this. It's not, it's just, it seems just unfair to me. It's not, he's not, if I look down the street, is that Park West? So this is on the opposite. So this is where I guess I was blocked in. Of course, is that the shoemaker right there? Is he right there?
I think there's the
There's a dry
taqueria and
the dry cleaner,
Omaha
the
Steaks
tacos.
before the
and then
shoe
shoemaker.
repair.
Yeah, I mean, I got blocked in there. I know, what it is, and then it was the whole big mess at the other end of the street. My only point is that I just think that instead of blocking businesses all day long, we're effectively like making them invisible to the world during the height of the business day. And there has to be areas where, what we found at the other end of Chestnut, where there's like kind of open space where there's no businesses to be blocked. I don't want to block a restaurant. I don't want to block anyone's business, but we are effectively putting a truck there all day long if this is enforced, which we would want it enforced.
What's at the end of Oak Street? Like, that was the old post office?
Yeah, so there's the parking lot, so the end of Park West, there's basically a driveway for a parking lot, and then a yellow zone in front of the apartments at the corner there.
So there's no room at the end of the block where the apartments are?
No.
Let me throw this idea out. The spot that I know Leonard Anthony and the shoemaker value the most is that 15-minute spot on their side of the street. If it were free, 15 minutes, and were actually policed so that the buses and the trucks don't sit there, that would really help their businesses. I don't know if we can afford it, but I'm just throwing that out there.
I have a problem. You may as well pull the shade down, like you may as well put a brick wall in front of somebody's business if you're going to park a truck. The one thing we know is all of these businesses rely on visibility. Some rely on people like me who just go to the shoemaker, but a lot of it is reliant on pass-by traffic. It's vehicular traffic that's passing by. It's like, oh, there's the shoemaker, this is where we're going to go. By putting a truck there all day long, the shoemaker becomes invisible. It becomes what's like the trucking company, whatever their, side of their truck says. It becomes they're invisible. We're blocking their business every single day.
So
And
if we don't have those loading zones there, though, Officer Chirino, where do those trucks park?
Where do they park?
Yeah.
Currently, right now, they park across the bank of 5 spots
Okay.
in front of Raymond's. They park in front of the stop sign in the crosswalk, getting tickets. They park in front of the driveway. They know they create hazardous conditions, and they get summonses for it. They don't have an area to park on Oak Street, on those stores on East Ridgewood Avenue. I took into account, by trying to give the shoemaker, the Omaha Steaks, more 15-minute spots, because that's where they thrive. That area right there thrives on the quick in and out.
Right.
I know that he meets his customers sometimes on the side of the road and just takes their bag of shoes and runs back into his store, knowing that it's difficult. But again, it's somebody that's quickly double parking. If we give them more 15-minute meters, more 15-minute spots, he'd have more locations for his patrons to go, as well as Omaha, as well as the dry cleaners there. Right now, I don't see it having a truck there all day. Again, there's usually 10 to 20 minutes is usually a delivery that we see over there.
Except I know what you're saying, because that's an observation. We don't see trucks there all the time. The problem is that all the trucks that are parked all over the place now, if you're enforcing, they have to go to these loading zones. So effectively, by creating these loading zones and then enforcing, the trucks have no choice but to be there all day long. So I don't know how many trucks go in and out of the CBD every day. I don't know what the height of the delivery. It's really feasible that maybe in all likelihood it'll be half the day, and half the day the parking spaces will be empty. But on the other hand, because what we're doing is we're taking all the trucks and consolidating them only into these spaces, the effect may well be that trucks are parked there for that full time, and that business becomes obliterated. It may as well not be there. So, I'm not. It's just an observation, because you're funneling everything into those spaces.
Although some of those trucks do go in the back, right? Like to Park West.
Some of the trucks do go in the back that are on the
They go in Chestnut.
businesses that are on the
Right.
west side of the road. But if we don't do anything, we're basically allowing a dangerous situation to continue. We're assuming that this is going to happen if we put these trucks here. But what we have now is no place for them to go. So the fact is, we're allowing a dangerous situation to continue. This is our solution. Moving forward.
Is there any way that we can create a loading zone in the Chestnut lot behind?
They're allowed to utilize the Chestnut lot. We allow them to utilize the Chestnut lot. A lot of the businesses that are using this loading zone would be East Ridgewood Avenue businesses between Prospect and Van Ness, as well as businesses on the east side of Oak Street. Raymond's as well uses that area of Oak Street for loading. So it's a big stretch. It's more than just the businesses that are on Oak Street. It's East Ridgewood Avenue, between Walnut and East Ridgewood, between Van Ness and Prospect. That's an East Ridgewood Avenue loading zone, not just an Oak Street loading zone.
So, Susan, I pulled it up where they're talking about the loading zone is really, I think, in front of the cleaners and Sombrero.
And Sombrero often has chairs and tables outside. That's the problem,
Yeah,
too.
I wouldn't want to sit out there and have a truck pull up.
So what I'm saying is that I agree with you that we have to do something. There's just these businesses that are impacted specifically because no matter when you try to fix this, and it's fun, it's a good fix. It's thoughtful, but those businesses are the ones that are going to get the trucks all day long because I'm sure we don't have a count of how many trucks come in. I don't know. How many trucks do you get a week?
We don't get the 18-wheelers, but the 18-wheelers, they come in, they stay for a while.
Yeah.
And when I have had in front of my place, not an 18-wheeler, but I have had big box trucks, like 20 or 26-foot trucks, sit in front of my place for half an hour, and I can't wait for them to leave.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's a problem.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think what we need to do, and I think Councilwoman Parent raises a good point, that maybe instead of putting the trucks on the street like this, maybe there's an area of Chestnut lot that we can take, and then...
And the Prospect lot.
And Prospect lot. Maybe what we should be doing is looking at the places that are more hidden, even though it may be a little bit more of a trek for a truck driver. I think the overall outcome would be better for those businesses. And I don't have a problem with the other ones, for me, I don't have a problem with the other that we did before. Those seem to be okay.
For me, it's the Oak Street one that I really am concerned about. I'm not as concerned about the Chestnut one because there are two.
What do you mean?
Because there are two loading zones that this proposal has for Chestnut Street. I'm less concerned about that than the Oak Street loading zone.
So you're less concerned about removing the one off Chestnut?
Yeah.
And you're more concerned about taking this one away?
No, the opposite. I'm okay with having two loading zones on Chestnut. I'm a little concerned about the loading zone on Oak.
So what I would suggest, I just have such a problem putting this in front of any store all day long because we are consolidating the trucks to those limited locations where ultimately it will most likely result in those businesses having trucks parked in front of their businesses from until 4 p.m. every single day during the height of the business day. And, a business owner can say, come after 4, come after 4, come after 4. However, it is the passing traffic that makes someone visible. Their storefront, people put a lot of effort into their signage, awnings, how their appearance, they maintain their properties, and we put a truck there all day long. My suggestion is that we start with I want to just go back a minute, the one at the end of Chestnut, and remove, or don't put that added loading zone in front of, don't do that in front of the tobacco shop. So do the one at the end as a starting point. And then do those on the Franklin Avenue at Oak Street North side, where you planned, right? And the loading zone
At the end of Chestnut.
at the end, right?
Is it possible, or would it make any sense to put a loading zone across the street from the 15-minute meters at Van Ness Square?
So we did talk about that. The issue that I foresee is the buses making that turn.
Oh,
We want to kind of prevent that. It's already quite narrow. That
Right.
would be a decent location. I just see,
Issues.
I just see issues. I just see side swipes. I see backups there.
What about on the opposite side? Wait,
Well, I'm talking like this side, so that they're not blocking any stores or restaurant, they're
so
blocking
you're
the
talking on
island.
the west side of Van Ness. So we have,
Yes.
so on Van Ness though, don't the buses don't go in the, isn't the one side of it one way?
Yes.
The boat, yeah.
So if we're going, so the buses go west on East Ridgewood, take a left onto Van Ness.
Correct.
So what we try to avoid, I mean, we've seen when there's larger SUVs that are taking up the first two spots on those parallel spots, we see sometimes that there be obstructions with those buses making that turn. So my concern is putting a wider box truck, possibly with an extended lift, causing an obstruction when that bus is trying to make its left turn.
It'd be too narrow.
Right, but now I think Susan is saying, well, how about on the other side of Van Ness? Like if you're coming up Dayton and you're making a right onto Van Ness,
Yeah,
could there be a loading zone?
those are all diagonal spots. It just takes up more spots. So those are all diagonal
At the
spots.
end, closest to East Ridgewood, those are still diagonal?
But even if they're diagonal, if we're not I mean, maybe we just put that one on the back burner, but I don't think diagonal spaces for a loading zone is necessarily a bad, I think the trade-off, it's a trade-off, right? We have these diagonal spaces, maybe that's a good option as opposed to putting a truck, an 18-wheeler in front of somebody's business or a couple of businesses all day long. So what I'm suggesting is that we at least get started with the ones that we all agree on where we're not impacting businesses, and then either go back to where Councilwoman Perrin is saying, or on the opposite side of Van Ness, and maybe there's other opportunities there.
I love the idea of having a loading zone in the Chestnut lot.
Yeah, I do too.
I mean,
We'll take up
it's
parking
already
spaces,
basically
obviously.
already there. I mean, the Chestnut lot is during the day empty. So those stores that back up to the Chestnut lot, some of the ones that are on Chestnut and the ones that are on the western side of Oak do utilize and can utilize the Chestnut lot. Some of them can back basically right up into the back door of some of those restaurants. So that is a luxury that those restaurants do in fact have.
So you're saying that it's a good place for loading zones?
It is an allowable spot. It's just harder for trucks that are trying to get to East Ridgewood Avenue to circumvent the driveways there with, honestly, a lot of, if it's a hand truck or if it's however much materials they're dropping off, it might be out of the way for a East Ridgewood Avenue restaurant to utilize.
So I think that, like I said, maybe we have a starting point here where we implement the ones that we agree on, and then go back
And see what happens on Oak and on Chestnut in those places we were going to put the loading zone.
No, we're not going to put
I'm
one-
saying see what happens with the trucks. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
I agree with you. Don't put them into the ordinance and see what happens with those trucks. Where are they going to park? They're going to probably park where he said they park now.
No,
They're
just
gonna-
hang on a second. Hang on a second.
I know what you're saying. I know exactly what
We
you're saying.
don't want to put them in front of.
I know
the
that.
taco
I
shop.
know.
Okay.
That's exactly what I said.
So we
However, what
put
you're
them
saying is
where
don't
you
allow
are
them,
saying.
and then what we'll do is we'll see what happens. We'll realistically see what happens with those trucks.
Got it.
And then we can decide, all right, maybe we do need a loading zone, or we'll say, no, we really didn't need a loading zone there. And then we can amend it
Right.
later.
Because then also you're having a loading zone on Prospect, you have a loading zone on South Walnut, right? So that's adding those, so that will be helpful to kind of disperse.
Right.
So we'll wait and see. Right. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Right.
So
So when we are all said and done, we're going to,
we're going to do everything except the loading zones on Chestnut and the loading zone on Oak, on the side
One
of
of the loading zones on Chestnut we
businesses,
will
right.
do.
Well, that was
But
easier
the
said.
one in front of the tobacco shop, we will not.
Say that again?
The one in front of the tobacco shop, we will not. The one in front of the dry cleaner and Omaha Steaks, we will not.
Right.
And all the others we're going to
So
implement.
we'll do it as a starting point and see
Correct.
how
Correct.
successful, and then if we have, and in the interim, we'll implement those and just put the pause button, not do anything in front of any businesses, and then we can look at those other areas and see where there's other opportunities.
And we can evaluate also to see what happens with the trucks. This
But
way
we
we'll
are
see where they
gonna
actually park.
Do the 3 across the street from where we
Oh,
were.
the 15-minute parking spaces will be put back, and the 2, yes, those
Yeah.
parking spaces were fine, right.
3
We're gonna-
15-minute, 2 3 hours.
And the 2
Right.
3 2 hours, whatever it is. Yes.
And then on Broad Street, the same thing.
Correct.
All right.
So Prospect, we're just going to, tell me what we're doing Prospect.
So Prospect Street will remain, I'm sorry, right now it is 3 loading zone spots
Right.
and 1 15-minute meter. We're going to move those 2 loading zones closer to East Ridgewood Avenue, and then the 2 spots that are south of those are going to be 15-minute meters. Those are utilized tremendously by some of the stores on East Ridgewood. And again, if we move, can't parallel park into a loading zone. We have a 15-minute meter and then the loading zone. It's just difficult for those trucks to get into that. If we have that loading zone as the first 2 spots, I do feel that we can get possibly some of those trucks off of Chestnut and possibly over there, get them off of East Ridgewood Avenue and get them over there.
Yep.
It's great.
That
No,
was
I
one
think
of the
that's
ones that I
perfect
promote.
This one's good, yeah.
Yeah.
Try to
That
get
one's
people,
good.
I try to get trucks to go there. I try to tell them about it. But again, it is difficult to park there when that first spot is taken by a 15-minute meter.
Yep.
Definitely.
That's great.
Okay.
Yeah. And South Walnut,
South
everyone
Walnut,
was
East
already
Ridgewood
in
Avenue.
agreement. Yep.
This also gets a lot of truck traffic due to deliveries on East Ridgewood. So that would be 2 3-hour spots. That would be a shared loading zone. Again, 6 to 4, 4 to 8 would be 2 15-minute meters.
Perfect.
Right. North Broad, this is the taxi stand.
North Broad would just be a change of an ordinance. Right now, it just allows for taxi. This is a large area that can be utilized by trucks. We can also try to push these trucks that are on the closer to the East Ridgewood Avenue side to utilize this spot.
Are trucks going to be able to pull into this if there's cars parked?
So they
On the
should
right?
be able to. I believe I measured it at, I think it was almost 60 feet.
Okay.
They should be able to pull in, and the trucks that are utilizing it are usually between 20 and 40 feet.
Okay.
If you see that first vehicle that's in the picture, the spot is actually further in than it appears, so it actually gives them a little extra room in the roadway.
Okay.
And then is it also going to switch to 15-minute parking after 4 o'clock?
I don't think we can do that there. I don't think that should be utilized. I think that should remain kind of the taxi. It's going to be both. It's going to be a loading zone and, taxi loading zones. I think we're just going to change the ordinance so that it allows for trucks, because right now it just allows for taxi pickup and drop off.
Does it also allow for Lyft and Uber?
It doesn't have it in the ordinance. We can, because we do have restaurants over there. I do recommend adding that to our ordinance.
Okay.
I don't know, I think it's fine. I just want to point out how sad it would be to cover the building with a truck all day, but it's okay.
It's okay. Okay, Woolsey Square, West Ridgewood.
Woolsey Square is going to remain the same. That's going to,
Right.
after our last conversation and conversations, I guess, with some store owners, that's going to remain all day at this point. We're not going to change anything over to a shared loading zone. That first spot is a 15-minute. It's a complimentary. We're going to keep that a 15-minute.
Okay. Godwin at Woolsey.
Godwin at Wilsey, we are seeing significant amounts of double parking over there because there is a good amount of to-go restaurants. So we want to make the first two spots, one on both sides of the crosswalk, 15 minutes.
That's great.
And
That's
how many
good.
then 3 hours are left?
That's like the only one I didn't write those numbers down on.
2 less than they're currently
Yeah.
on.
2 less than currently.
Well, you know,
Right.
look, I mean, we're making convenient for 15 minutes for people to run in and run out, but we also still have people that go and eat, so I don't
Well,
want
there's
to...
still a lot of, because you have it
That's
around
all I'm
the corner
asking.
as well.
Yeah, and we still have the train station. The train station empties out during,
Fine.
3, 4, 5 o'clock hour
Yeah,
for these
we're
restaurants.
good.
But that is probably the most dangerous double parking area we have, just because of how busy it is
Right.
and how
No,
it
I
can back
know.
up. Again, if we can get spots to flip, we get those double parkers off the road.
Okay, so we got it.
Yeah.
Yay. I'm happy. We got through it.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks
so
so
we'll
much.
have an ordinance,
Thank you.
hopefully for July 13th. That'd be nice if we could introduce it then. Okay, thank you so much. All right, the next item
Thank you, Ray.
Thank you, Ray.
is our Hudson Street Garage wayfinding signs. Dylan Hansen's here. He's going to discuss about the Google ads because we wanted to know about budgeting and, what they do. And then also we have a prototype of the sign for everyone to see, which he's going to bring out. This is the size sign that was
Wow.
recommended.
It's too small.
It's the size of a 65-inch TV,
Will
basically.
Dylan be
this-
holding it?
Is this a temporary thing to
Doing a
get
bad
people
job,
used to
just to let
the,
you know.
or is this permanent?
It was going to be, my recommendation was till the end of the year.
Yeah, okay, temporary.
That was my recommendation.
Right.
If we go this big, that's up to you.
I personally think it's entirely too big. I think they are so way too big beyond. And if I understand this correctly, this huge sign would be at South Maple and Dayton, North Maple and East Ridgewood. I can't
Franklin and
imagine.
Oak, Franklin and North Broad,
Yeah, yeah.
East Ridgewood and South Broad.
I think it would be a visibility blocking, like
I mean, it's a blight. I mean, that would be like just degrade our entire central business district. I mean, I get we want to. First off, how come that it's blue and white and not the green peace sign? Because peace signs are green.
Well, this was just a prototype. It's not going to be the color. Forget the color.
So
It was to show you the size and the lettering and what it was going to look like.
most people know that the P is parking, and I think that we can maybe still make this visible by reducing it to a fraction of this size, but still adding maybe parking garage a different way, just maybe running parking garage along the P.
Parking garage where? Just, Dylan, turn around.
Yeah, I think there's a different way to do it. I mean, the P with the little car in front of it is probably, I mean, it's cute, but unnecessary.
Right.
Dylan, do me a favor. Go stand in the back of the room with that for just a moment. Because it's right, I mean, look, at this close, it's like sitting in the first row of the theater.
Yeah.
And certainly, it's big.
It's
I
like-
think that perhaps something slightly smaller, but not significantly smaller, because remember, here, one of the things that I've seen about signs is people don't see them. They just don't see them. So on it, and let me just finish my thought. Yeah, I agree. It's too big.
Like when it also looks like it says arcing garage.
Listen. I think what we're talking about.
Let's get the size.
I think we're talking about conceptually.
Got it.
Is putting signs. We can change. Let's not talk for a
Let's not
moment
dwell on
about
right.
what's on there, the colors. We can tinker with all of that. Is that too big? I think it is.
Yeah.
But a fraction of that size is what we have, and I drive by them and I don't see them.
Yeah.
And I know they're there. So I'm thinking something that is perhaps half that size, which would still be a significantly large sign, and much larger than what we currently have, so that people can see it. And again, we're talking about a short-term thing. We're talking about 6 months, nothing permanent. And I say 6 months, 6, 4, 8, whatever. Something to make people aware of what's there. And so we can do it wonderfully tasteful, where no one will see it, or on a short-term basis, make it a little oversized, not quite that oversized, so that people see it. Because right now what we have is an empty garage. So those are my thoughts.
So I have a question. When it says the intersection of South Maple Ave and Dayton Street, like, where will the sign go? Is it's going to be on its own post?
Yeah, well, if it's this big, it needs 2 posts. If it's smaller, it may only need 1.
So there's going to be a post in the corner of the sidewalk?
Mm-hmm.
So doesn't somebody live at the corner of South Maple and Dayton Street? Or is it a business or a residence?
I think there's apartments there, too.
There's a business building on the, what I call the northwest corner of that. It's a business building. It looks like a residence.
And there's a business building on the southwest corner.
Yes.
Right.
My suggestion is to go to each location where you anticipate a sign and photograph it. And when you photograph that sign, that location, then there'll be a better understanding of how the sign fits and what the size would be appropriate, and keeping it still visible. But I think it's helpful to see the surrounding area. I get what you're saying, is you want it big enough that it stands out, especially if it's temporary.
And here, yeah, I was just going to say, Dylan, if that's 60 by 30, whatever it is, can you superimpose a 30 by 15 sign at those on a photograph of each of those locations? So that, okay, and I think that is what Susan's suggesting. I think it's a good idea because, look, I think we all agree this is, and Heather, thank you for making it as big as I hoped. But seeing it, yeah, maybe it's just a little too big.
So, and you might find, Paul, I'm sorry to interrupt, you might find that some spots can carry a little bit of a bigger sign, and other spots may require similar branding to what you envision, but maybe a little bit scale to what is in the immediate area.
Agreed. And again, the idea is it needs to be bigger than the signs that we have. And so Dylan, do you think you could do that for our next meeting?
6th July.
Yeah, we have a list. Heather has a list.
I'll give you the locations.
And again, I don't think the copy on the, use this copy for now. Again, we can tinker with the copy and the colors later. I think the first issue is the size. If you guys have suggestions about the copy and the color.
I do.
Well, it's got to be green.
I also
All
think
parking is green.
the font needs to be more pronounced. The arcing garage part, that's too small for the size. So I think if you got rid of that P with the car, you'd have more font space so that it would be more readable.
Why don't you use the font that you use on the kiosks to notify the side of the house? You ever see the font they have on the side of the kiosk?
I don't know what. Yeah.
Here's the other thing, and and it's not that I have a problem necessarily with the colors blue and white. I think they represent other things.
To me, that's hospital.
I don't have any strong opinions on color.
But it may be that because it is temporary, they're not intended to be permanent signs. It may be that the blue is better because the green you want it to be really stand out. It might be that the blue would be better temporary to get people to understand where the garage is, as opposed to the green, because there's a lot of greenery at Dayton. I think
The green blends in better.
It may blend in a little bit more, so it may be that we have to tweak colors also. But I think the first order of business is to go to each of these locations and kind of understand the surrounding space, and then you'll know what colors and what size for each of those. And it may be that the blue and white is the order of the day, but it might work better.
And what I would say, tell me what you guys think, is I would take Susan's suggestion. I would also take Pam's suggestion to just the words parking garage and an arrow, so that we maximize whatever space we are using, as opposed to it being, a lot of stuff there. Again, we don't want it. We don't want sign pollution. By the same token, it needs to be a little in your face, and so the blue and white might work if it just says parking garage with an arrow. Let's start there. Other thoughts?
Yeah, I think you actually might not need the word parking or arcing, because the P is parking. P is universally understood with the arrow to be parking. You might just need the P, arrow, and garage, because the P stands for parking. Garage then is the only other word you need. So every time you reduce the letters, you actually allow more space for garage. So you could have a P, an arrow forward, and garage underneath the P and the arrow. And now you've used your space more efficiently, and you've branded everything, but the P stands for parking, the arrow's telling you where to go, and underneath it says garage. So
and on this I'll disagree with you on, insofar as the P stands for parking. Yes, it does, but everyone doesn't know that. And so
many other towns have parking garages that have directional signs to get to them. You ought to just look at them. You see them in Montclair, you see them in Hackensack, you see them with a number of towns.
You mean the
parking garages where they give you signage to where to get to the parking, or even a parking
There's
lot.
an idea.
So, those things, the P is the predominant symbol for parking. Right. And if you put the word garage and you fit it in there, I'm just suggesting go to those other towns and just see what they have, because that would be an easy way to try and get some consistency with
Let's do a field trip.
Field trip. Okay. All right. So we're all agreed. We're going to go to these spots. We're going to get photos. We're going to make the sign
Dylan,
up.
do you have direction on what to do?
Yeah, I do. It's
Good.
fine. It's fine.
Great.
It's fine.
Great.
Okay, so Dylan's here to
Thank
talk
you.
about the Google Ads. So you had information from him
Can
that
you
he...
just give me a minute, because my packets, we were all over the map, and I
What are we up to
It's
now?
12B2. It was on
The last
tonight.
item.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
right. So go ahead, Dylan.
All right, so I did a quick little thing on a Google Ads or AdSense about how to set up an account and to get a price cost, and these were the steps I took. So when you go in, It asks you what your goal of your advertising is. Ours would be to advertise the parking garage, so I chose get more visitors to your physical location. Then it goes to the next step of setting up analytics for your website, so you know how many people click on the ad, and so you'll know your general population of that's visiting the website. So that's the next part of it, and then it goes on to the next step of your headlines for your ad. So it pre-filled out everything. I just left everything standard, but we have full control over it. So it gives you 3 different headers and 2 different descriptions. We can type in whatever you want. This way the ads rotate all the time. You can even add in contact information, and then it gives you a little excerpt of what the ad would look like popped up on the Google search or any of the web pages that they are allowed to advertise on. Then the next part would be the search terms, or what people would go to search for. So if they typed in Ridgewood parking, the garage would be in the top list, and the ads would also pop up, along with the link to the Google Maps that contains pictures and information about parking at the parking garage, as well as all the parking within the village of Ridgewood. Then the next part will be you pick the radius of what your target audience is. I chose 18 miles from the parking garage, so it's an 18-mile radius. So anybody within that location that's on a cell phone, computer, that's on the internet, these ads would target those. If you're outside of that radius, it wouldn't. The more you make that radius, the more pricier the ad gets, so the bigger the location. So if we went 20 miles, it would add a couple cents per day. If you went the whole tri-state region, it would be a couple $100.
What's the radius you checked?
18 miles.
It's actually so 9 miles in every direction.
No, 18 miles in all directions.
That's it.
I'm sorry, from the center point out, 18 miles. Yeah, the radius.
I failed geometry. So it just seems to me from the demographic that comes to town that 18 miles is a lot. It's far. I think we can do it. With half that.
Yeah, I just did the recommendation from Google. So I just left the standard, so it gives us leeway to understand it. We can make it smaller. We can make it bigger during Christmas. We can make it cover all the way down to the American Dream. You can cover all the different radius, so let people know we have parking up here and we have shopping. So, and restaurants and everything in between.
I'd like to see what I don't know if you can do this, what the towns are that are covered in the 18-mile radius, because that'll give me a good handle.
It shows you a little tiny map of where it goes to, so you can see down to which highways it hits.
Doing it?
Or interstates.
Here it is. Sorry, the initial.
Yes.
So sorry. So sorry. Now I got it. And I failed other subjects, too.
So what is, like, when somebody hits on, like, this Google ad, it's a Google ad, is that
Yes.
what it is? And so it's floating through somebody's, while they're playing solitaire, like that kind of Google ad?
Or shopping, or
shopping, or whatever.
wherever they're on that they have ad space on.
So, it's just about the parking, because when I'm looking at this, it just says parking. So, I mean, if I'm going to be, just somebody who's gets this ad, comes through, and it says parking, if I click on the ad, then what is it telling me? That I can park in Ridgewood, so, okay, how is it going to tell me all the amenities? What's here, what restaurants, what shopping?
Well, it's going to bring you, we can direct it to wherever we want. If we want to put the ad to a web page with all the information, or if we want it just to go directly to the Google business of the parking garage, and it will show you a map with all the surrounding businesses, as well as the parking garage, would be the center of the attraction.
Okay, this doesn't tell me what towns, and I think that what we might be trying to achieve here is those towns that normally shop and dine in Ridgewood. If we make those people aware that there is a parking garage That's what we're trying to do, not necessarily because the advertising of the businesses and all that, that's really the Chamber of Commerce, the Ridgewood Guild, all of that. So if these people who normally come here, we just want to let them know, hey, there's a parking garage here. And so that's why if we can find out what towns are there, I have a pretty good handle on the towns that people come from to go to Ridgewood.
I think to Paul's point, what you want to do is get your regular customers to come here and use the garage, and not necessarily the outliers, but the people who are the regulars. And if maybe you go 5 miles out, you might get those very same people, the people that are your regulars, your regular visitors. You'll hit Glen Rock, you'll hit the Midland Parks, you'll hit the Hohokus.
Wyckoff, Upper Saddle River, Saddle River, Fair Lawn.
What you really, and it's a good point, that you want your regulars to come here and use the garage. You're not looking, for the occasional visitor. You want your regular, so that if the regulars use the garage, then your other spaces are open for the
Susan and I are especially good sync tonight, and to that end, there are people in those towns who have given up on Ridgewood because of the parking. They used to come, and so we want to let them know it's better now. And so that is the target audience, not the people in Garfield who. Do we get some people from Garfield? Yeah, but that's kind of far away. We're looking for those people in that hub that come here on a regular, that come here or came here on a regular basis. And if we show them that it's easier to come, they don't. Because what I've always heard is, I really love coming to Ridgewood, but the parking's killing me. So we just go to this place in Wyckoff that's got parking. So we want to make those people aware, and if we close the radius a little bit to those people, we can get more ads out more efficiently and spend the money that way.
All right. Yeah, that's not a problem. This was just an estimate to get a rough
Sure.
idea.
No, I think this is great, and I mean, look, everyone uses Google Ads, and they're great. They're efficient. They're moderately priced. I mean, they're actually cheap. So you can get a good bang for your buck with Google Ads. I really like that approach.
But I do think we need to set a budget and know how much we're spending, because they do add up very quickly.
Yeah, it can get expensive
all of a sudden
quick.
you get slammed, and it's like
And I think once we get our radius down, then we can establish a budget. Let's figure out where we are on this, and then say, okay, we want to spend X amount of dollars will give us Y amount of result.
So do you know off the top of your head, Paul, what towns you want to capture within the radius?
I can probably name 10 towns off the top of my head, but I'd love I'd love to look at a map, because I know, I mean, off the top of my head, Fair Lawn, Glen Rock, Wyckoff, Upper Saddle River, help me here, Waldwick, Hohokus, Midland Park, Paramus, Mawa, exactly. Everyone knows the towns because they're in our radius. That's all. And so, did we miss a couple? Probably one or two, but those are the towns that we're looking at.
So we can pinpoint those within the radius, so we can shrink the radius to cover those and get more visitors.
Exactly.
So just based off the 18-mile radius on the next page, their recommended package it comes out to be $17.50 daily. So we close that radius down, it'll be cheaper.
Yep.
And that they're estimating anywhere from 640 to 1,740 clicks per month of visitors.
And that's what we're looking to do. It's a moderate price, as opposed to newspaper advertising that's unreachable. Yeah. So, in fact, if you know what I'll do, I'm going to go look at a map. I'm going to contact you with Heather's permission.
Well,
to say,
and give it to me too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I will contact you both,
That's great.
And let you know the towns that I
Okay.
think are worthwhile. I will also share it, well, I'll let Heather share it with the council, and if there are other additions, by all means, if I left somebody out, but once I look at a map, I'll have a good handle.
Yeah, we've been also working on a parking map based off of Google Maps. I think I sent it to everybody.
I'm not sure if it went to everyone.
Or I'll send it to Heather and she can distribute it out. But the more visitors we get on there, the more prominent we are on Google as well. So they actually came back to me after I updated the address on the map to 25 Hudson, because the pin was sitting on another street for some reason, but I was able to have them modify it. And we started adding in pictures of each of the floors, the outside and everything. People are actually giving us positive reviews parking in the garage. So they sent me an email saying, you've reached over 1,000 clicks within 3 weeks on the parking garage. So now it's a prominent figure on the map. So the more people we get to visit that, the more people that review it and give us feedback and everything, the more prominent it will be on a Google map as well.
Great.
Which is nice.
I have another suggestion about parking. On our website, when you click on the parking tile, the first thing that comes up is monthly parking. And we know that people aren't commuting as much as they were before. And I think what they want to know is either about the garage or about on-street parking. Can we
Sure.
That's on our website?
Sure.
Put more like the daily visitor and move the monthly down.
Yeah, like for a daily visitor.
It's fine.
Mhm.
Yeah, maybe it should be in order of duration, daily,
Yeah.
just reverse it.
Okay.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. So
Any
we'll
other
bring it back
questions?
July 6th.
And the other thing I was thinking of, now maybe this undercuts the garage, is should we be advertising on the website where the free parking is? On Union or Cottage or Prospect?
There's no free parking. Where's the
There's
free
2-hour
parking?
free parking in those areas.
Where?
Excuse me,
Where?
not Cottage. Yeah.
Where?
It's Cottage.
I don't think we should advertise, we want to just advertise, let's advertise what we need to advertise. Let's keep it simple.
Where's the
We
free
want to drive traffic to the garage. We would be undermining our efforts if we were to put other information in.
I agree. Okay, thank you.
Good, you're welcome.
Yep, the next item is parking spaces on Maple Avenue. Basically, Chris Redestauser, our engineer, went out, he measured the width, and he does believe that there's satisfactory room for the proposed parking spaces for the Ridgewood Water Headquarters building.
Okay, any questions on this?
No.
Okay, the next item is under budgets through interest payments on delinquent accounts. Governor Murphy issued an executive order related to interest-free payment plans for utility customers with delinquent balances who may have been financially impacted by COVID-19. The village was diligent in ensuring compliance for all delinquent water utility customers. However, we did not modify our billing for sewer balances that were delinquent. So in order to provide a remedy, we have a resolution which will apply such overpayments to future billings.
Okay, any questions? Bless you.
Thank
Everybody's
you.
sneezing up here tonight. It's
I don't know why.
crazy.
The next one is awarding a sole source contract for a respirator fit tester. The health department has received a grant, public health, strengthening public health capacity grant, and it's to purchase tools and better assist the community and health department with communicable diseases and the ongoing duties. So they are supplementing the emergency services department with a respirator fit tester machine that measures both quantitative N95 fit testing and P100 mask fit testing. It will continue to assist the ongoing relationship with emergency services and the need for accurate and proper fit testing. The vendor is a sole source vendor, is TSI of Shoreview, Minnesota, and it is in an amount not to exceed $15,225. And again, this is being paid for through that grant.
We have a grant for the full amount?
Yeah, we have, Yes. The next item is awarding professional services for planning consulting services for Green Acres diversion. Topology, as you know, has been our professional planning consultant for the Green Acres diversion. It was discovered that a paper street proposed to be placed on the recreation open space inventory as a replacement had previously been placed on the Rossi. Topology has contacted Green Acres, and now what we're looking to do is start the process of removing that street from the Rossi and then vacating it. And then this will be added to the compensation package as conservation and open space land. So it's basically to correct the error that was created. So it's an additional, $2,500 for Topology to correct that.
So, just, I mean, you know, it's fascinating because the issue comes out of property that was converted to affordable units. The whole diversion is based on that property being taken out of the Rossi. Mm-hmm. And now we're finding the very property that we are using to remedy the diversion is erroneously on the Rossi, and so now we have to remove it.
Correct.
And then put it back on after we vacate it?
And then that's what we'll do, right?
I
Do
mean,
a vacation.
It's a little ironic.
It's not just ironic. I mean, it's beyond ironic, actually, when you really think about it. All this, so in other words, all this time, basically the property, the bulk of the property that was being used to remedy this issue was all along on the Rossi.
Incorrectly, right?
Because erroneously. No, I understand that, but it was always there. Now, this has cost the Ridgewood taxpayers how much? I mean, we're talking like, you know, the
$2,500, basically, to correct that error.
Well, not really, because we had to work on other things that we paid them for, right?
Right, but
And they're still withholding money from the Ridgewood taxpayers. I'm just saying, it just seems to me, I mean, almost like the headless octopus here.
Hopefully this is the last bump in the road we're going to encounter in this journey. You know, it's been a long 10 years, and I've only been involved 5, or 6, but it's been a long time.
But it seems like 20.
It does.
Well, our drive to, when we went down to Trenton to
it was
meet
about
with
6
them
years. It was about 6 years.
2016.
Yeah, 6 years. Yeah, I know.
And I just have one question, again, I know the answer, but I have to ask. This is not something we can do in-house?
No. And thank God for Topology that we found them and that they've been assisting us because they deal with Green Acres a lot and they speak their language, which is a good thing for us.
Let's just get it done.
Let's do this quickly and painlessly
thank you.
And move on.
That's what I would like to do. All right, the next one is under policy, window displays for vacant storefronts.
Okay, so I'm going to bring this back. It's the empty storefront displays.
And I'm going to recuse myself from this discussion.
Okay, that's fine. But I think that we need to move forward with this. The only thing I would change here that I think would be a good addition is to create a subcommittee to review any storefronts, because when I read it, I kind of think, well, local school art projects or cultural, you know, that could be interpreted. I think it might be beneficial to have a member of the Historic Preservation Commission, maybe Project Pride representation, someone from the Planning Board, maybe someone, you know, just create a little subcommittee of other committee members just to look at a proposed drawing and kind of make sure it is what we, what's the matter, Matt?
Nothing, I'm just waiting for you to get done. Because I have a suggestion, but in reading the
we already say that it has to go to spec committee?
No,
Okay.
not that at all.
So I would just say that there has to be, so that the outcome is precisely what we envision. I think it would be beneficial to have a some committee
Review.
formed of existing committee members
To
who are
review it.
already familiar, and that would be important to have someone from HPC, Planning Board, Project Pride, and maybe the Ridgewood Arts Council, somebody like that. So just to throw that out there.
Or CBDAC.
Right.
I've just got a couple of recommendations. One of them was brought to my attention by Pam, which is in B1. The word at the end of the second line, the word attractive, is really too subjective to be able to be applied. But
Right.
by going to a committee that you're suggesting, you would get rid of that. You would not have to use that wording in there. You would then insert wording about, subject to the approval and review.
Approval.
Okay?
Right. So can you...
And so we can do that. We just got to
Okay.
decide about how to set up that committee and what to call it, what to name it, and deal with that. The second thing, and we want to do it so that it doesn't take up time, that it just gets it done, because the whole idea here is to get the displays up.
Right.
The second thing I want to just bring to your attention, and I know this from just dealing with my own clients, is that in A3, a window glass shall not be frosted or covered with paper, curtains, or other material that block the window or display. Well, if a display is approved, obviously you don't want to have frosted glass or covering or that type of thing. But there is, and oftentimes, maybe two occasions where I can think of where frosted glass or covering is a safety issue and a concern, because if a particular landlord or property owner is doing some type of an interior build-out, there's material, tools, things like that left inside. And the second thing is that when there is an actual lease signed, there's a problem with same type of activity that needs to be protected from people just viewing outside, or somebody looking in to see what is there, and whether it be equipment or tools and that kind of thing. So I would think that we just got to carve out exceptions for those two instances that I can think of where frosted glass or either paper or curtains are useful for the protection of the leasehold. So.
And I have one other thing that I wanted to bring up is, on the corner of Ridgewood Avenue and Broad Street, there's that corner building. It's a historic building. And one of the attractive things that's been done is a very large photograph that is on the glass. And I think that would be nice in other settings too, and I'd like it to perhaps be an added permissible display. However, in B1, it says everything here has to be consistent with the window display requirements of 190-122. That section says that any window displays have to be a foot back from the window itself. And so it would effectively preclude that nice kind of skim on the window. So I'm thinking
So why
about
don't
that too.
we could say, leave it, just cut it off at displays and take out consistent, because they're intended to be temporary anyhow, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just take out that line. And then, Matt, we'll go back to the frosted glass and say...
subject to review and
subject
approval.
to, right, okay.
Review and approval of, and then we just got to define what that's going to be, Susan.
In other ordinances that I've looked at, they leave it up to the building department to approve it. I don't know if you want to do that, or you really want another subcommittee.
No, I think that this is not it's not a building department thing, it's not a zoning thing.
It's not a
really
permanent
intended to
thing.
be temporary, so
Yeah,
that we
true.
don't have that
Okay.
light
I'm
of
just
empty
bringing that up,
storefronts.
what I
Right. We
read.
really want people, we want to add vibrancy where, even when there's just an empty space.
Okay.
Okay, so we're good with that. We can make those corrections and then get this ready for introduction. And then in terms of the registration form, I think that we should definitely have that on file so that we can monitor, and this helps.
I had a question here. You know all these bullet points, there are extra bullet points there, by the way, that don't belong there. But on the line that says, do you agree to ensure that the exterior grounds, blah, 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 and then it says, consistent with the requirements of the property maintenance ordinance. Can we have a citation there? So that people can go look up the ordinance and know what it says?
I don't actually think it should be, do you agree? I think it should be, property will be.
Yeah, fine.
I mean, I don't think that we're looking, because I think that's, why would we say that? Do you agree to continue to secure the building? We should just cross that out and say the buildings, unoccupied buildings should be secured, period, whatever, structure that sentence. Building, the exterior grounds of a property and exterior features of the building must be maintained, clean and well maintained and consistent with the requirements of the property maintenance ordinance, and cite the ordinance. So it's not a question. We're not asking a question.
Yeah.
And then the last one is, do you agree to ensure that areas of the vacant storefront visible, no, we should say areas of the vacant storefront visible to the public from the public street or sidewalk will be maintained in broom clean condition and free of litter and debris at all times. We just pulled this up from somewhere so we can clean it up.
Yeah, and on that one I thought, what's not applicable? It's going to be applicable.
Right.
I don't think we need the NA.
Do you agree to provide the required, no, you're required to maintain the window. So we can just redo this, and yes, there looks to be like double the amount of bullet points necessary.
Yeah.
Somebody was bullet point happy.
Also, something's funny at the bottom where it says, I certify that the foregoing statements made by me are true. The font is all wonky. Just.
Yeah, we just have to clean this up. I don't know where, is there somebody inserted the Village of Ridgewood. It says, I certify the foregoing statements made by managing, that they're the managing agent, that they're the property owner, and the property information.
That's where you could say, I agree to the foregoing.
Right. Okay, good. We good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're going to get that done for our...
All right, the next item is under operations, changes in the titles for the public health grant. It begins July 1st, 2022, and expires June 30th, 2023. The titles for the two existing employees, one changes from COVID generalist to infectious disease preparedness generalist, and the vulnerable population outreach coordinator will now be called the local health outreach coordinator. The only things we may have to do is possibly change the titles in the white collar salary ordinance. So I'll take a look at that, and if so, we can do an amendment.
Any questions, anyone?
The next one is authorizing a memorandum of understanding agreement with Bergen County for lead poisoning services. Bergen County Department of Health Services received a grant from the New Jersey Department of Health, so the county provides lead poisoning services to all 70 towns. It's valid for 36 months from July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2025. They have a memorandum of understanding for all Bergen County towns, and they wish it to be signed. There's no cost to the village for the grant, and we've been using this since 2019.
Okay. Any questions?
No, but I would like to tell anybody who's listening that if you're planning to put a swing set or a playscape on your property and your house was built before 1978, there is a chance that there's lead paint on the exterior of your building, and you can get the soil tested for free by the county. And that will tell you whether there is lead in the soil. And you might not want to put your playscape where there's lead in the soil.
Oh,
So,
okay. All right. Very good. With that, we'll go back to, we're good, right? Public comments, not to exceed 5 minutes per person. Please remember, state your name and address for the record. public comment.
We only have veterans in the room.
Good evening. Ann Loving, 342 South Irving Street. I just wanted to thank the four of you so much for all of that discussion on Graydon, and also to Steve Diamond and Nancy Bigos. I'm so happy that the hours are going to be what they're going to be, and I just really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann.
I'm tired. I don't know about you guys. Denise Lima, 319 East Glen Ave. Thank you for all you do. I know we don't always have to agree on everything, but this is a long day, long night, long week. It's incredible what you guys put through. So thank you, everybody. And I know Mike's not here. I'll work backwards from a few things. So the ordinance about the vacant buildings and the frosted glass, yada, yada, yada. Yeah, I see some of it is getting really out of hand, so I'm glad you're putting something together. I appreciate that. I still feel, though, that we're not putting enough emphasis on the historic nature of some of our buildings. I'm still seeing tons of different multicolor, uncharacteristic things that I would say don't fit. I've recently seen some restaurants that have these oversized lights that I would say look not professional. There's a new building that has about 20 strings of artificial flowers hanging off of the facade of it. I don't know. I just don't think that that's very historic. So I continue to ask that you spend time on the historic nature of our downtown. The other comment tonight about the garage signs. No. That is, I think it's going to be unsafe. I think on the corners that it's going to be. I can't imagine the Lovings, who hate any type of poster on anybody's lawn, could possibly like this. Looking forward to your comments about it. I just don't, I think it's polluting. I don't think it's historic in any nature. But we do need signs for the garage. We need some, to bring people into the garage. So I like the creativeness. This might be a little bit of the extreme. 15-minute parking, loading zones. So I really think it's a great idea, and you might have said it, Lorraine, a few meetings ago, that we need more short-term parking. Maybe a month or two ago. I do feel that we are a one-and-done mix of stores and services. I run in to get the candy, I run in to get the ice cream, I run into the UPS, I run in to get my takeout. And for the things that I'm going to sit longer on, restaurant-wise, we have the garage and we have adequate parking. There's tons of people that want to run into the tobacco store, run into Walgreens, run into Rite Aid. It's a one-and-done, hurry up, I'm quick, I'm out. Nobody's going to run into Town and Country and go, oh, I think I'll walk around town now. I mean, even Latana's, as great as it is, it's a 5, 10-minute, 15-minute, parking exercise. I'm going to get my gift and go. So the more we can promote that and have more short-term parking for people to come and go, all for it. I think it's the best thing we can do. I don't know, Heather, if you keep stats or whether it's worth, but I'm curious to know the percentage of times that a council person recuses themselves for a particular topic, and how many times they recuse themselves to the point where they're not effective as a council person anymore. There's so many topics that we're bringing that the recusing seems to be happening a lot, and I'm just curious, like what that might look like. And if you don't, that's okay, but just an idea. What I was really here to talk about was the master plan. So I still have this Facebook page from August 2nd of 2017 saying, rah, rah, today's our first meeting on the master plan. Sorry. In April, there was supposed to be some conversation about the conservatory, and we had to step back, and we couldn't, release the master plan, and that was in April. I don't see anything on the web page under the programs of where we're at with the master plan. I'm interested in really understanding two main points about it, so if somebody can give me an update, that would be great. Where we are with all the historical nature of it. What are we doing with East Glen and that whole area? Are we making it a historic section now? Paramus Church, the Ackerman House, the Zabriskie House, that whole corner, down to, I would say all the way down to the Zabriskie Mill that was at Maple. That might be too extensive for a lot of people on the first go around. I get it, but that anchor of where Ridgewood settled and where our Zabriskies and Ackermans started this town, that is the most historic thing we have. So I'd like to understand where that is in the master plan. And then the whole, land use, all the policies, and I'm most interested in the enforcement of the policies of the land use. So I'd like an update if that's possible.
Thank you, Denise.
Thank you again for your time.
So I think we do have a little bit of an update on our master plan. Oh, I'm sorry. Boyd, come on.
Good evening again. Boyd A. Loving, 342 South Irving Street. Just like my spouse, I am very happy about the way the discussion of Graydon went. We're very pleased that the hours really aren't going to be reduced all that much, that people are going to get to come at 10 o'clock in the morning for the people with the little tykes. Not that we have little tykes anymore, but it's still good to see the people with the little ones being able to get out before that nap time thing hits at noon and the kids basically have got to get home. So very pleased about the plan that was presented by Nancy and Steve tonight, and hoping that an increase in pay comes to those people if the budget can handle it. So again, thank you for getting behind them and agreeing to the proposal that was submitted. I'd like to make a few comments about the parking spaces in front of Ridgewood Water, or the new Ridgewood Water proposed building. I'm dead set against it. My belief is that if that building had been taken over by a private owner and the private owner came to you and wanted to put parking spaces in front of his or her building, you would have said no way. In this day and age when people are paying their bills electronically and you can pay by phone, there's all sorts of ways you can pay, I just don't really think that there are going to be a lot of people who are going to want to be coming and parking in front of Ridgewood Water to run inside and pay their bill. I really don't see a need for it. That's really going to clog the street up, and there's a crosswalk that's just north of that, and I really think it's going to create visibility problems for people who are driving along the street. If there is a needed option that people need to come in and pay their bill in person, I don't know why they can't come to Village Hall and pay it at the tax collector's office. I believe you can pay your water bill there now, so the need for more parking in front of Ridgewood Water, I just don't understand that. If you put any parking spaces in front of Ridgewood Water, I think they should be for handicapped only. I think that anybody else could be parking in front of this building and just walk down the street 50 or to 100 feet. Again, I think it's going to be somewhat of a safety hazard by putting additional spaces there. And if it was a private owner, a medical office building or something who went there, I don't think that you would have permitted it. So I just don't know why it's being permitted for village use. I'd like to say one other thing about Graydon, and I know that the season is here now, but we need to be reminded that when the season ends, again, you need to take a look, if you would please, about the ordinance about that being a park and it being open to all people in off-season. I know the manager reported the last time I made a comment about this that people were removed from the pool area because they were in the water. After my comments, I was contacted by at least one person who told me that she was ejected from the pool in the winter by the police when there was no water in the pool. So there seems to be a bit of discrepancy as to whether people were in the water when they were ejected, although people are saying at times when there was no water in the pool, they were ejected from the property. So again, we're in season now, and it really doesn't make a difference anymore because you're not supposed to be there unless you have a badge, and particularly not supposed to be there at night. But once the pool closes in September, we really need to have it so that people aren't ejected from the property by the police just because they're on the property. It's a park, and as such, it should be open to the public. And that's all I have to say about that. Good evening to everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Boyd. So, all right, I think we're good. So we're going to close public comment, and real quick, our master plan, we just have now a draft that we were actually just waiting on the Land Conservancy of New Jersey for the open space piece, and we have that now. It actually just came through today. Pam and I were very excited to see it. So that's going to be right back at the planning board. And Mr. Loving, yes, we're going to bring that ordinance, whatever it is that we have, maybe we should put that on our next work session agenda, because I too had always understood that Graydon, even on the off-season, was a park that was open to the public. So I think we should make sure that that's exactly how it is stated in the ordinance, and that it is treated exactly in that way. So with that, I guess we'll have a resolution to go into closed session.
Okay. Be it resolved by the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood that the Village Council meet in closed session on June 22, 2022 at 7:30 p.m. or as soon thereafter as the matter on the agenda can be reached, and that said closed session be held in the fourth floor caucus room of Ridgewood Village Hall, 131 North Maple Avenue, Ridgewood, New Jersey. And be it further resolved that the matters to be discussed in closed session are limited to personnel, boards, and committees. These matters are allowable under NJSA 10:4-12 et sec, and be it further resolved that the minutes of this meeting shall be made available to the general public when such matters have been deemed completed by resolution of the Village Council. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Okay, good night, everyone.